Perhaps we need some outside universal threat to make us recognize this common bound. I occasionally think how quickly our differences worldwide would vanish if we were facing an alien threat from outside this world.
Good evening and welcome to the Tuesday night edition of Spaced Out Radio tonight. My name is Dave Scott. Very glad to have you here as we find our spiritual zen and chi tonight. Sherri Divband is our guest. Dirty Filth will be here with another great cartoon. And the best part of it all, we have all of you, like Race Fan in the gold medal position, Tim Mothman in his goatee with a silver medal, Kathy Evans with a nice bronze tonight. Hello there, Jennifer Patterson and Roy Boy, Robert Lamont, Dino Bravo, Laura Lobbs, Michael Morris, and Jimmy Gonzalez. Nice to see you all. Chef Chris, good to see you. Lightwalkers is here. Lightwalkers will be signing autographs after the show. Line up to the left of the studio if you don't mind. To the left of the studio. Hi, Paula Fost, Chris 716, Les Paul Holland, and Dutch Hank. Nice to see you all. Lee the Bee, Paramarv, Superknower. Good to have you here. Penny Van, nice to see you as we continue on with our roll call tonight. Scrolling on down, we have Mary R. Nice to have you here. Vash the Impaler. Sandra Kincaid, nice to see you. And number 13 in your program, starting at right wing from Stockholm, Sweden, Lars Jansson. There he is. I'll make that. Hi, Sandra. Hi, Sandra. Hi, Sandra. Noble Patrick, good to see you. Noble Patrick will be signing autographs after the show as well. Line up to the right of the studio if you don't mind. To the right of the studio. W. David Page, how are you? Good to have you back. Scrolling on down, we have JSCO. Jeff Steve Garvey, he'll hit a home run for you. Guy Calgary, how you doing, my man? Nice to see you. Richard Elmore, good to have you back. All right, let's continue on with our roll call. Phil the Stalker, Time Travel, Welsh Hammer. Thank you all for coming on in. Who's hiding over on the Facebook page? Let's find out, shall we? Well, it's Chuck Finley. Chuck Finley is in Facebook land. All right, Destiny Rocks. Monica, it's been a while. Nice to see you. And who else is here? Scrolling on down. Doug Shelby is here. The Doug Shelby has arrived, which means we can officially start this show. Keyshawn, Petgrave, what's happening, my man? Good to see you. Skip to Malou, good morning to you. And there's purple-haired Pixie Lara. Super crazy, how you doing? Attorney to the EBEs, what's happening, my man? Can't wait to see you in Reno. Mac Geek, thank you for coming on in. And Digger Dog, can't wait to see you in Reno as well. Moving on here, we have, well, let's see. Nikki Williams. How are you, my beautiful friend? Yep. She was our guest just last week. We like her. Remember, guys? We like her. Hectic. Welcome to SOR Chat. Thank you for coming on in. Hello there, Bobbert. Nice to see you. Pix, good to have you here. Who else is on Facebook? Susan Lawrence. There she is. Susan, she's waving as waving can be. All right, continuing on. David Hayworth, how you doing? SG Nav Spotter, good to have you here. And Moon Freedom, nice to see you back. Roger Blair, welcome to SOR Chat. And who else is here? Well, let's see. Nina Williams, Marty Burback, good to see you both. Okay, let's get the radio side started, shall we? because we want to get Bill WD-40 into the chat room to lube us up for tonight's show. You always want to go into a show nice and smooth. You don't want to be rigid. That's why you need that WD-40 in there to smooth it on out. Lisa Davey, how are you? So pumped for Sherri on tonight, Dave. Guess what? Me too. Me too. Look at my excitement. All right. We got just a few seconds to go here. Hi, Ann B. Thanks for coming on in. And we are setting a good tone for tonight. The energy is perfect for a show like this. Reminder, the super chat is open. It's a wonderful way to support what we do on this show on a nightly basis. Also, hi, Human Carl. How you doing, buddy? Also, shop at our Spaced Out Radio store. We do not have ugly swag, people. We got clothes that you're actually going to want to wear outside of a garage sale. Okay? So make sure you go check it on out. What do I need from you right now? Horns up. Let's rock. From the mountains of central British Columbia to you listening around the world, this, my friends, is Spaced Out Radio. I am your host, Dave Scott, sitting in the captain's chair of SOR headquarters. We welcome you to tonight's show on our terrestrial affiliates around North America, digitally on Odyssey Radio, TalkStream Live, and KPNL. All of our archives are free. You can join us at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do old Navy the favor, hit that subscribe button. You can follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on Patreon in the Space Travelers Club. Our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the news wire, check out our swag as well. Tonight's show is brought to you by Chive Charities. Help make the world 10% happier by visiting Chive Charities today. You can find us on our website. We got a fun show coming up for you tonight. We don't take this angle often, but it's going to be fun indeed. Sherri Divband is here. We're going to get into a spiritual awakening. What happens when we awaken? I know it happened to me. Has it happened to you? We're going to find out here very, very soon. Then in hour number 3, Steve Stockton is here with another story from Among the Missing. And then because there's all this UFO chatter, I decided to bring in Tim Senor tonight. Yes, the Timbit is back for a little bit of a UFO reports. Let's get to it. Sherri Divband began immersing herself in various healing modalities, and it was through this process that she discovered much more than she was searching for. As a mother, Sherri felt her awareness shift as she began to focus on the state of humanity. Her desire to create a better environment in which to raise her children awakened within her a passion to assist in the awareness of healing of humans. It was her own children that opened her eyes and triggered her desire to understand what's been referred to as New Age kids and how vital they are to our growth and to our evolution of humanity. Oh, wow. We're going to get into this deep tonight. Sherri Divband, welcome to Spaced Out Radio for the first time. How are you?
Oh, Dave, thank you so much for having me on. I am honored to be a guest this evening, and I'm excited to get into some interesting topics, that's for sure.
Well, we're going to hit a broad band of topics tonight because everybody that I know who maybe doesn't have an interest in this field, but has had their own something happen, it all starts with a date. It all starts with a time. It all starts with an experience. When did you awaken? And when did I awaken? I can tell you the date. It was December 13th, 2013. And it was an amazing experience for me. Let's go to you, though, because you're kind of important around here tonight. Okay. At what point did you start to understand that you had a spiritual awakening? What happened?
Yeah, Dave, wow, that's a loaded question too, because when you look back in hindsight, there's so many more elements to it than you realize, and it's a bunch of pieces that you put together. But I can say if I had to put a date on it, it would have been February 21st, 2005, which is when my first son was born. And he just completely shifted the trajectory of my life. So before that, I was not the person I am today. And I went through a lot of spiritual growth, let's say. I was an only child. We moved around a lot. I'm from Los Angeles, California. I had some traumas growing up. I talk about them openly and in my book, sexual abuse, kidnapping at a very young age, at 3 years old. There's a lot more to it that I haven't shared with the audience just yet, but I'm working towards it. But needless to say, those traumas in the beginning led to a trajectory of being very much in the shadow side. So not trusting humans, feeling alone, feeling not like everyone else, which was also really hard to do as a shy, really small, shy kid, who was very introverted and not sure of herself. And moving around didn't help a lot because I was bullied quite a bit. In every state that I went to, every school, I was just seemingly targeted right away. So the animals in my life were the lifeline that I had. My first dog was a German Shepherd, Chelsea. And I always talk about how she saved my life because she gave me some sort of an anchor to realize that there is more to life than just pain. And I started to talk to my dog, and I started to learn animal communication, self-taught. And I really started to see that there is a such thing as unconditional love, and that animals are the ones that show that to us, that side to us. So that became a passion of mine, and I started to kind of move towards a direction of working with animals. I wanted to be a vet, but I ended up going in the direction of being a veterinary technician. So that's kind of like a nurse for animals. And I did that for quite some time, actually 20 plus years, I've been a registered veterinary technician. And I said, I'm not going to work with people. I don't like people. I was ready to fight and confront anybody. I wore a lot of black. I raced cars. I didn't care if I died. I was going to hurt you before you hurt me. And I really had this like persona about me where I'm like telling everybody, just back off, I don't trust you. But the animals saw this complete different side of me. And then when I met my husband now, we've been together over 20 years. He kind of came into my life and he put me in my place. He's like, "Why? What's up with you? Stop taking yourself so serious. What are you so angry about? Like lighten up a little bit." And he's kind of slowly started to teach me to chill out and to trust in people again. And he brought something out of me that I didn't know was there. My whole life I've always been intuitive. I could read people really well. I always knew I was different. I didn't like the same things other children liked. I wasn't into the same games. I clearly was thinking different things and wanting different things, feeling different ways, seeing things. Interestingly, in hindsight, looking back, I saw a lot more of the dark side than I saw the light. So I saw a lot of shadow beings. I had a lot of nightmares. I saw what I referred to as a child as witches in the woods. And I would say to myself, don't go over there because they'll get you. And as an adult now, I think back and I'm like, where did that come from? Because I never shared it with anybody. I never told my mom about it, never told anyone. I just thought it was weird. So I didn't want to be picked on even more. So when I got pregnant with my now 18-year-old, almost 19, the whole foundation in which I stood completely shifted. It was like an earthquake, which I was very familiar with being from California, and everything changed. The trajectory shifted. And it was almost like a walk-in occurred, which I know I'm not a walk-in, but it felt that way. It was like a completely new person stepped in, and I started to look at the world differently. And I started to think about, if I must be going through pain, and I look at people through the eyes of distrust and dislike, imagine what other people are going through and what happened to them to make them feel that way. And so I started to look at people with compassion, and I thought, if I can't raise my son in an environment where I hate people and I don't trust people, because I know there are good people out there. And it's interesting, Dave, because as soon as I shifted the trajectory of my thoughts and I allowed compassion into my heart, and my son opened up my heart in a way that was so profound I didn't know was possible, I really started to look at everything differently. Everything in the world shifted. The way I saw people the way I saw the world, what I wanted to do in the world, what I wanted to contribute, what I wanted to change, and no longer did I look at everyone like the enemy. And I looked at everybody like, okay, what's your story? And then everything changed for me. It was just a beautiful awakening that was so profound. And then each child I had after that, more of an awakening occurred. But I believe that, like many people watching this right now, and probably yourself included, sometimes we can only awaken to what we can handle at any moment, because it could be life-changing and also life-shattering at the same time. When you unravel these layers of programming, indoctrination you realize you've been through, and the healing needs to occur. So you can only go through so much at one time. So for me, each child that I had was another mini awakening, and it was equally as profound as the last. And so that's kind of where everything started for me. So I don't know which direction you want me to go in.
I'm just thrilled to hear your story. I mean, there are so many of us out there who are daily battling issues, whether it's mental health issues, whether it's life issues, financial issues. I mean, to hear how you were able to kind of break through that mold and find what was actually important again, because in life we always tend to worry, sickeningly worry about the things that really don't matter. They may matter, you know, in a certain sense, but if you were to draw out your top 10, a phone bill isn't a priority over a hug from your child. You know what I'm saying? And I think that's very profound to hear your strength in chatting about the pain you went through, the pain you had to get through in order to get your life on track to where you felt that you could be a human being.
Absolutely. Yeah, and I think that we write our own destinies, some of which is predestined, and then some of it we have free will to design as we go. But some people need a near-death experience to have an awakening. Some people need a profound experience. Some people, the catalyst is the birth of their children, whether they're the father or the mother or the grandparent, or the aunt and uncle. Sometimes it's something else. Sometimes it's a death. So everybody chooses what it is that they believe would work best for them based on many different variables and circumstances. And for me, I know now, all these years later, because based on what I do with my life, why my children had to be the catalyst for me. But it isn't necessarily the same for everybody. And I didn't need to have a near-death experience and go through the tunnel of white light, like everyone says that occurs, and you have a life review. That didn't happen for me. It actually happened while I was fully awake and present. And it was very real and raw and challenging, but also very beautiful at the same time.
Sherri Divband is our guest tonight on Spaced Out Radio. I like how you put that you gained more awakening with every child that you had. You've had 3 children, I believe, correct?
That's right.
What did you take out of that experience in order to gain that spiritual awareness? Was it just the pure love of the child, or did the child actually gift something to you?
That's a really good question. And because of the profession that I'm in now and all the experience that I've had, and there's not one answer for that. One, I believe 2 things occurred for me. One, it's a portal. So when we birth children, we create a portal. A portal is open, and that portal is an opportunity or a pathway for us to shift in vibration. And when we shift in vibration, our density of consciousness also shifts. Therefore, we can pull in more of our higher awareness and our wisdom, and we are in more alignment with our true self, our higher self. So that your children can do that for you through the birth portal, the process of giving birth. But also, when they come in with this pure light and pure energy, they can imprint that on you. And anybody that's around you, doesn't have to be mother to child. It could be father. Like I said, it could be even just other siblings, or even just friends and family. But more profound for the mother and the child, because they have the umbilical cord, which is also an energy cord that connects them, and in the astral as well as the physical. And so the energy exchange is very extensive and profound. So it's a combination of the two, really, for me at least.
I can understand that and appreciate that. When you started your awakening, when you decided that you no longer wanted to be angry. You no wanted to have that defense mechanism that immediately stood out. I like what you said about the great support of your husband, who is like, hey, you don't need to really be like this. I'm paraphrasing here.
Mhm.
At what point did you feel that weight lift off your shoulders? Like, I made it. I don't have to try that hard. I'm accepted. I'm loved. I'm absolutely to the point where I've always wanted to be.
For me, I think I can't credit my husband to that necessarily, because sometimes you hear things, but you don't believe it. And sometimes you need a profound experience in order to fully embrace it. And for me, I think it was right after my son was born and I held him for the first time and I looked down and I said, I want something different for you. And the weight just fell. And I remember crying in the hospital saying, I was so grateful. Like, I was so filled with love and gratitude. It was an overwhelming experience, because I never felt that kind of love before. And I'm not saying I had horrible parents and my husband didn't love me. Of course, they all did. But I never felt that kind of love, the purity of love, the vibration of love in which he exchanged with me was out of this world. Like, there isn't actually a word to describe how I felt. It was an awakening, really. I mean, it literally awakened me, and it was a huge, like, heavy weight of anger, resentment, guilt, shame, and all of these rage, fear, all of these emotions bottled up together, just like it's like the champagne bottle cork just popped off, and then everything just came out. And I just thought to myself, it doesn't have to be this way. And Jordan, my son, was the epiphany that helped me to realize that. And I think that's why a lot of people get stuck. We get so much into our head because human beings are so primal. We forget the multidimensional aspect of ourselves. And when that occurs, we forget our superpowers, our innate abilities. And we're so stuck in the left brain, the mind. We're so cognitive. We're so primal. And so we allow ourselves to get in our own way by how we think. And I realized that it was all in my own head. I created boundaries around myself. I was angry at all these people, all those people that hurt me, and the people that kidnapped me, and the people that sexually abused me. Do you think that they were thinking about me at all? No, they moved on with their life, and they were probably hurting other people. I was nothing to them, yet I was still connecting myself to them and anchoring myself out of anger. And I was so mad that, how can you do this to me, that I created my own little prison. And it was all in my mind. It was all my own thoughts. And for me, it was that easy to realize it, but I needed an abundance of love to come through, like this wave, to just shift me out of that mode. And then once I was out of it, the illusion fell, and I realized that it actually was an illusion. It wasn't real. It was something I created, perhaps out of self-preservation, out of fight or flight, out of survival, all of the above. But nevertheless, I could create it, so I could destroy it if I wanted to, and I did. I redesigned my life.
Beautiful. Beautiful. At what point did you start to notice your change in yourself? I understand the whole mothering aspect to your children, but was it piece by piece that you took yourself apart, or did you just say, hey, I'm going for it, I'm feeling something new, I don't want my child to live the way I did, so I'm starting from day one right here? How did that work?
Yeah, well, the first few months of motherhood was just absolute, it's hard, and lack of sleep. So I think that there was just a period of just trying to survive some more. But really from there, it came with an interest and an intention. So how do I want to live my life moving forward? And the way I chose to do that was to explore. So I read I like to read. So I read all the books of the authors back then that were really popular, about New Age movement and spirituality and life after death, life in between lives. I mean, I wanted to immerse myself in everything possible. So while doing that, I started to become interested in healing different healing modalities. I did work at the ICU around the time my son was born. And that was a really intense job, working with animals in the intensive care unit, taking care of them on ventilators, post-surgical cases. It's very hard, and it's not for everybody. But I always thought to myself, there has to be a better way. Like, why do they need to be in so much pain? So I started to look into natural healing. It opened so many doorways for me that I wanted to learn everything and any way I could. And so the way I thought about food, the way I thought about healing, the way I thought about interacting with people. And I'm also a very shy, introverted person. I love to be by myself, and you put me in a corner somewhere and leave me there, I'd be fine with a book. I'm not a very social person. For obvious reasons, I think growing up, I just kind of kept to myself. But my husband is the opposite. He's very charismatic. Everybody loves him. He walks into a room, everyone gravitates to him. So I think through me allowing myself to be a little bit more like him and open up that side of me also helped to change the kind of the persona that I was giving off and what I was allowing myself to explore a little bit as well. So a combination of learning, my intention, my thought process changing, and allowing myself to interact more and be around more people, and now to let me have some friends and let me trust people and give them the benefit of the doubt instead of deciding beforehand that they're going to hurt me and writing them off and not giving them a chance. Okay, let me give people a chance. Let me invite people into my life and let my circle grow. So it was a profound collection of many different things that took, I'll be honest with you, probably a good first 5 years of his life to really start to notice new patterns and new things, new pathways to create in my environment. And then 2 years later, I had my next son, and that's when I really opened myself up to the spirit world, started communicating with my guides, to angels, to extraterrestrials, to everything just came flooding in with that next awakening. And I think the first awakening had to occur just to get me ready and to prepare and to trust my knowing and to have a solid foundation, so that when that happened, I didn't feel like I was going crazy, which I did a little bit in the beginning. As everyone is, I'm like, wait, am I making this up? This is like insane. Who do I tell? But but you navigate through that.
Well, as we got about 2 minutes to go here before we have to go to break at the bottom of the hour, our guest tonight, Sherri Divband, and we're talking about spiritual awakening. You now help people awaken. You now help people find themselves, heal themselves, to let them know that they are good enough. And it sounds so easy to say that, but you've literally taken on one of the hardest jobs in today's society in trying to help people find themselves, find out who they are, most importantly, heal. Why did you decide to do this? 90 seconds.
Oh, so the Cliff Notes version is I learned Reiki and animal healing for animals. And then the animals told me that the people needed the healing. And so I needed to focus. They guided me to focus my attention to people. I moved on to people. I started to open myself up. My psychic abilities came pouring in, and it started to become a combination hybrid of healing, guiding, and coaching people. And it opened up many more doors of hypnobirthing, which we can get into. And then New Earth Children, working with children, hypnotherapy, and so much more. And now I run a school, and I'm helping shift the trajectory of education for children and star seeds, along with books, children's books, and so much more.
I think it's wonderful. And I love what you were doing, because very few people actually take the importance of their own spirituality seriously. And it's a tough road to haul. It's a tough road to believe. But once you're there and once you've had the experience, it's very much open to whatever can come next in your life. And it really makes you put things into perspective. I mean, you're looking at a guy who literally spent, his first 40 years of life worrying more about the sports scores than about living. Now it's opposite.
Mm-hmm.
Very much so. And so I think that, it's something that both everybody in life has to really look to endure and find themselves. And when you do, it's awesome. It really is awesome. We're going to learn more about awakening spiritually and healing and everything in between. Our guest tonight, Sherri Divband. You can find her books on Amazon. Spaced Out Radio continues right after. after this. Boom. There we go. First half hour done. Told you that would be fast.
It was fast.
Yes.
I'm having a great time.
Good. I would hope so. That is the point.
Yes. I'll tell you though, watching him create this art, it's very relaxing. Like I want to. I just keep watching him. It's like
that's
amazing.
That's why we have our dirty filth here.
I love it.
Right there. Hello, dirty.
Yeah, it's awesome.
I'm not only very jealous of his art skills, but he's got an incredible set of chest hair. That's just, I mean, that's very Tom Selleck-like. It's unbelievable.
Thanks, Dave. I appreciate it.
You're welcome, Filthy.
Anything about perhaps the quality of the drawings?
What about it? We already
That's
know
pretty good stuff too.
Well, we were just talking about how spectacular you are.
Yeah, it's amazing. It's just I can't stop watching you. I just feel like I could just watch you draw for hours. Really well done.
Once you get in the zone, that's usually what happens.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Just
every now and
again,
away. Hey, what's the gray cat coming around for? That's Blob's job.
Oh, the gargoyle loves me. He's my shadow.
Mm.
Usually he's sitting on my feet, and then the blob is on my lap.
Yeah, we got people calling for Blob.
Maybe I'll go hunt her down.
Yes. Filthy here, Sherry, has a beautiful cat that's named Blob. And Blob literally knows she is the star of this show.
I think I saw her pop her head in earlier. Was that her?
That was my boy, the gargoyle.
Oh, okay.
The gremlin was crawling around too as well. It's just the cats are out of control.
They just all want they all see what happened. I think what's happening here, Filth. I think Blob is going outside your door at night, and when you let her out, I bet you she's signing autographs. And the rest of your cats are seeing this, so now they're trying to get some airtime, so that way they get to sign some autographs too.
I'm not sure what it would take to bring 4 cats down to Reno there, Dave.
I'm not saying Reno. I'm saying outside your house. We do have fans in Edmonton,
And we have that portable hole.
We do. Hi, Luscious Jules. How are you? Mm-hmm. I have no idea what you're drawing tonight.
It's some current events.
I can kind of see in the background the outline is pretty cool.
It'll look better once I get the ink onto it. I promise.
I have no doubt.
Paul Damon, how are you? Reminder to all of you that the Super Chat is open. Wonderful way to support what we do on a nightly basis. And don't forget, May 10th through 12th, you can join us in Reno, Nevada for the 3rd annual SOR fan party at the Silver Legacy Casino and Resort. We want to see you all there. VIP tickets are just $100. Come hang out with friends like Dirty Filth, Tim Senor, Corny Marcassani. There's Blob. Blob will not be in Reno, unfortunately. Jim Goodall, Science Bob, Melinda Leslie, Merle, and many more that are going to come your way and hang out with you. It's a weekend of fun, weekend of woo, and we want to see you all there. So sign up at info@spacedoutradio.com. info@spacedoutradio.com. We'll see you there. And also, don't forget to shop at our Spaced Out Radio store. Why? because we do not have ugly swag. Majdi, how are you? No, we actually have stuff that you're going to want to wear outside of the bingo hall or the bowling alley or while you're painting your bathroom. So go check out your shopping, spacedoutradio.com. Amy WC, thank you for kicking off the super chat tonight. We very much appreciate that. Lovely Amy WC. And I'm going to mute you. Oh, you're already muted there, Filth. Here we go with the second half hour, everybody. Second half hour, Spaced Out Radio is now underway. Good to have you with us. My name is Dave Scott. Very much appreciate earning your listening ears. Reminder to all of you that if you've missed portions of this show or others, you can always check out our free archives by going to youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do old Davey the favor, hit that subscribe button. Our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the news wire, check out our swag as well. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on Patreon in the SOR Space Travelers Club. And here we go with our good friend, Sherri Divband. We are going to check out our website, which is sherridivband.com, where you can learn all about intuitive energy healing and see what else goes on. Sherri, welcome back. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
All right, let's get right to it. Opening up spiritually and having your own awakening. Mine seemed to happen very abruptly. Yours took a matter of years. Which is it normally for people to, get hit in the side of the head with the proverbial spiritual baseball bat, or does it for most take time?
That's a really good question, and I don't think that there's a right or wrong answer for it. Professionally speaking, based on thousands of clients that I've worked with over the years, I would say that it's a good number of both. And again, it's all about what we feel, our soul feels that we can take on. There's so many different elements and variables and factors in our life that will determine whether or not we are prepared, or if we have the right support that we need or lack of support to cater to our awakening. So some people, that resist, and they don't want to deal with the aftermath of the awakening, and they don't have the right support system. And so unfortunately, there's a lot of 3D interference, which we can talk about, which I get very much in detail in my third book, that blocks a lot of people. So there's a lot of things working against us in this reality because they don't really want us to awaken. So there's going to be a lot of interference causing us to want to numb our awakening with addictions, alcohol, drugs, all sorts of things that they'll dangle in front of us so that we become distracted. And so those are the people sometimes that need a harsh awakening. Those are the ones that need a swift kick in the behind, and they end up having a near-death experience, or they end up having some traumatic experience that's the catalyst for their awakening, because they either resisted for too long, or maybe they needed it to be that way. Maybe they knew that was the only way that was going to awaken them. That's going to get them. It's going to shake them to the core, and that's what they need. I know from the type of person that I am. In hindsight, looking back, I wouldn't change anything, and I would have done it exactly the same again. Because I know that, again, I needed to be sensitive to the people that I'm working with now and really understand how challenging it could be to take a slower path and go through trial and error and all of this. So I would really understand other people's journeys that were like that, so that I could help coach people, because I'm big on reminding people who they are. I'm not one of those healers that's going to say, oh, pay me this amount of money and I'm going to activate you. And in actuality, I'm very weary of people who claim that they activate people. That is a really unfair thing to say, because you can't necessarily activate somebody that's not ready to be activated. We don't know their soul contract. We don't know why they might be resisting, what blocks they may have, and there could be reasons for it. And so I can't say, oh, I'm going to activate somebody. So what I do instead is I remind some people of their innate ability to tap into their higher wisdom and our ability to heal ourselves and all the different ways we can do that, and how to trust your intuition and how to ground yourself and how to go through a spiritual awakening and through a spiritual experience, taking in many factors that people don't think about: ancestral healing, trauma wounds, past lives, 3D interference, galactic guidance. There's so many things people don't necessarily think about because we're not taught as young children and throughout our lives. If anything, it's taboo, it's woo-woo. We're taught to look away from those things. And so there's so many tight wound people walking through our environment, many of which I call 3D and NPCs, because they're so anchored into the 3D. They're so blocked. And like I said, they're in that mind trap that they can't get out of, that they don't know where to start. They don't know what to believe, and they don't know what to do. And those are the people, unfortunately, that try to take the easier route. I might pay somebody, please activate me, please heal me, please take care of me, do it for me. And that's not how a true spiritual awakening works. You have to go through the journey, but everybody's journey is different. Some people's journey is a rocky road. And then some are plateaus, and some are fast paced, some are slow paced, some are super highways. Some of them are, there's wormholes you could go through, and different dimensions and different grids and different access points. So the answer to your question simply is all of the above, and things you haven't thought of. Actually, it could be many different things.
I love it. I love what you're saying, and I think it's very positive and very to the point. How do people know that they need this? I mean, I've heard of people awakening at 65 years old. I've heard them awakening at younger ages. I mean, just at some point, what turns the light on? I mean, this is, so I think for a lot of people who don't understand what we're really talking about here tonight is that eventually you have that aha moment
Mm-hmm.
of what your life is supposed to be, or how to get there. I know I'm not explaining it very well, but Sherri, bail me out here on this. How do people know when they've had that moment?
I think it's because you start to see through the illusion. So the monotony of the day-to-day starts to get to a point where you say to yourself, or you feel, this isn't right. This isn't what I want for myself. This doesn't make sense. And the 3D starts to the illusion of the 3D starts to become distorted. It starts to break down. You start to see through it. You start to think differently. So imagine we ended up, I talk about this in my first book, Getting Out of the Loop. Many of us are in repetitive loops, patterns, and that's by design in the 3D. Our pattern is to go to school as children 5 days a week, 6 hours a day. We repeatedly go through different subjects, and we're taught, and we sit down and we listen and we take tests and we memorize, and then we get out of school and we get into jobs. Not so much anymore because things are changing, but traditionally you have the 9 to 5, and it's like Groundhog's Day, and it's the same thing over and over. And like you said, on the weekends, maybe you're watching your sports and you're paying more attention to the games, and then the women are doing their thing, and it's a repetitive loop. And once you realize that you're in a loop, and you have these moments where you say, something is not right, or I'm not really enjoying this anymore, or it's not fulfilling me in a way that it used to. And you start to have those questions, is there more? Is this all for me? Do I deserve better than this? And those are the questions that break you out of the pattern, even if it's just slightly. And then you start to have aha moments. You start to have you start to have epiphanies. Your awareness starts to shift ever so gently enough that you create new patterns, new thought processes, and everything starts to create new doors, new pathways, and then new people walk into your life. And so it's all about what you're ready for. And I feel like a lot of people are at that point where the following the person in front of you and just doing what you're told because that's how it's always been done is starting to break down. And I'll tell you who is doing that for us. It's the children. So when I was working with adults and I started to do hypnobirthing, coaching women on how to have a more natural birth, less medicated, less less disempowered. Then I started to attract more children with labeled disabilities, which I don't like to use labels. We could talk about that as well. But the labeled Asperger's, autism, dyslexia, I'm very against that. There's a reason for it. I talk about it in all my lectures, my books, my YouTube channel. And so the children are coming in this new wave. And Dolores Cannon taught me a lot. I read all of her books. I actually used to channel her. And I learned so much. And she told me that I would be working with the next wave of children to come through. And I didn't understand what that meant. This was many years ago. And now I realize, having worked with thousands of children all over the world, all ages, from even in womb, in utero, or before they even come, to just being born all the way into their teen years and young adulthood. Also working with clients that are every age, even in hospice, on their deathbed, and I've talked to them right before they've crossed over. Having all of this experience working with all these different types of people, all the different demographic backgrounds, gender, both male and female, wealthy, not wealthy, living in rural areas, in the country, in the desert, all over the place. The common denominator for everybody is the higher self has this undoubtable, this unwavering wisdom that comes through at different peaks throughout your life, where you start to have these epiphanies, these moments of awareness, where you realize there's so much more than what we can see. And those moments, those glimpses, or those bleed throughs, I call them, allows for new pathways and new loops, new patterns to be created, and it makes you thirsty for more. And the children are the ones that are coming in right now, that are in their teens and young adults, that are breaking these patterns, saying, why are we doing it this way? This doesn't make sense to me. Why do I have to do this? And parents saying, well, it's always been done this way, because I told you so. It's not working anymore. They're saying, no, that's not enough. I need to understand why. I don't like that. We should do it this way. I think this way would be better. And they're encouraging the adults, whether it's the parents, the grandparents, the people around them, or or the teachers in the school system, to think about, reevaluate how we are bringing our youth up into the world. And they're the ones that are the change makers, the way showers, the pioneers. They are the ones that are saying no, and they're standing up. They're the rebels. And so I think that they're doing a lot for us in that capacity.
I want to ask you a personal question, personal on my end, if you don't mind. Yeah. So this past June, I lost my mom, and my parents were married 54 years. And recently, all of a sudden, my dad's been very emotional recently, because my mom was his best friend for a long time. They got married when he was 20. Okay. I mean, it was very heavy. Excuse me. Recently, my father has started having lucid dreams, seeing her at a coffee shop, seeing my deceased nephew, his grandson, driving down the street, honking his horn at him. And he's waking up, cannot get back to sleep. It's usually around 3 a.m. when this goes on. And I'm trying to explain this to him, but I'm not an expert at lucid dreaming, at conveying the message that is going on with that. How would you take somebody who's 74 years old, a very five senses type of farm boy, and tell them that what you're seeing is a spiritual renaissance within yourself?
Well, that's challenging because they are so stuck in the five senses. But in reality, I believe that we are having more of these bleed throughs, and the veil is thinning, and the 3D grid in essence is breaking down. What that means is that whether people believe this is a holographic universe, whether they think that there truly is a matrix, it doesn't really matter, because no one knows for sure. But if you just think about it like this, we do have dimensions. I think people can agree on that. And dimensions are separated with density. So the density of consciousness will allow you to be able to see into different dimensional fields. That's why there's Sasquatch. Some people can see them, some people cannot see them. But they are in the very same quantum space as us, but they are in a higher dimension. Yes, higher dimension than ours. Some people say low. I believe it's higher because that's where I've met them, in the 5th dimension and higher. So so all of these dimensions are layered up on top of each other, but in the same space. When we are in the dream space, we are multidimensional, meaning we have the ability to tap into all that there is. But when we are asleep, we don't necessarily recall it. We don't have an awareness of it. But as your father went through a trauma, because it was a trauma to lose your mother, she that can be a catalyst of awakening as well. It doesn't have to be the birth portal; it can also be the death portal. So as someone leaves, a loved one leaves, they will leave you a beautiful gift, and on their way out, they can open up and create an energy exchange where that will be the catalyst of another awakening. And it can be very subtle and very gradual, where he is now becoming more multidimensional, and in the dream space, he's starting to recall it. And that is where he is able to kind of see these bleed throughs and see her in the coffee shop. He's able to tap into more than the 5 senses. And so, the way I just explain it is the easiest way to explain it, if they will go off science of dimensions. Because if you believe in dimensions, you have to believe in all of these other things that I've mentioned. And the lucid state is the best way to tap into other dimensions. So he is actually validation that we have the ability to do that, because he's tapping into it. And the less he resists, the more he'll see. And so that's kind of the way I work. But it's challenging to work with the older generations, because they're very set in their ways, and it's difficult for that to break thought patterns. And it's sometimes challenging for them to believe. So they'll resist. But that could be a beautiful gift, that's where she comes and visits him, because she knows that in that lucid state, he is aware, even if it's in that moment. And in the daytime, he will tap out, and he's not going to be able to connect. But it's a very beautiful treat that during the evening time, during the dream space, they are able to be reunited, even if it's just for that short period of time.
Very incredible. I mean, it's very difficult, because he's never really believed, it's funny. He'll brag to all his friends that my son goes looking for Sasquatch and ghosts and UFOs. I don't really believe that crap. And then all of a sudden he gets pissed off because now I become a center of attention, so it's funny to watch, actually. But yeah, I really didn't know how to break that down to him on, what he is going through, and for a lot of people who would be in that situation. I mean, I think for a lot of people, especially the older generations, there's always been a healthy respect for death, whether or not they were agnostic, atheist, or of some religious connotation, but the more I look at it, like I look at my kids, and they are so different than what my father would be. They're like, we will get into star seeds and indigo kids in a little bit here. But I mean, it's just amazing the huge difference in how open the mind is towards possibility.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that the astral is the plane in which we can do that, where our mind expands. And really, it's not the mind. The mind is kind of put to the side, and the subconscious is very much alive, and we tap into our innate knowing, and the possibilities are pretty much infinite. And that's also where psychic attack occurs, which we could talk about nightmares with children, especially, and shadow beings. But there's a downside to the astral space as well, and that's oftentimes where children are targeted, and through that dream space, that's where the nightmares come, and that's a whole other avenue we can take.
Well, what about 50-year-olds who had nightmares recently? Oh my God.
Well, we can all have nightmares. I mean, I get attacked probably once a week through the astral, and I have lucid dreams, and I know in the dream I'm being attacked, and I say I'm being psychically attacked right now. And it's the craziest thing. And I do the things that I do, and I get out of it. And then I call on the animal kingdom actually to protect me. But it happens to all of us. You know, the movie Nightmare on Elm Street that came out, I don't even remember when that was, the 80s or something. That was a real movie, in the sense that they can do that. Like, we are targeted the most when we are in the dream space, because that is the easiest way it's fair game. I mean, it's the easiest way to connect with each other, but also the negative entities can connect with us there as well. And so they're going to target the weakest, which are the children, to torment them, and so that they're afraid to go to sleep, and then they don't have good sleep, and then they have developmental delays and so many other things. But they can also attack us. And the more multidimensional we are, it seems like the more of us that are attacked as adults. So it's kind of it's a compliment. If you're having nightmares, that means you're a very multidimensional being that's out in the astral, and they see you, and they're going, and that it causes the nightmares. So it's not always a bad thing.
Yeah, I've had some wicked dreams lately. I never remember them, but I just know they've been pretty wicked, which is kind of cool in one way and strange on another. We got 3 minutes to go before we have to go to the break at the top of the hour. Sherri Divband is our guest tonight on Spaced Out Radio. Speaking of opening up and finally getting your eyes wide open, how come this doesn't happen to everybody? How come it may be 1 in 10, 2 in 10? Okay, I don't know what the statistics are, but why do you think so few actually get to experience an awakening moment?
This is a loaded question, and it's definitely going to take more than a few minutes. But what I'll say is that there's a lot of reasons. One of which is that there are people who have a lot of karmic ties, and they are very embedded into 3D, and they are not ready yet. And so whatever they came in to learn, there are a lot of blockages. There's a lot of layers of healing. And if they're resisting, they're not going to have the awakening. It's not going to occur. Just stop me when we need to take a break. So okay, the awakening is going to be blocked for a lot of the NPCs and a lot of the people who have entity attachments, who are addicts, who are especially alcoholics, because they have a lot of entities that are pulling them down and suppressing them, so preventing them from having an awakening because they don't want to lose their host. But then there are other layers to it. And it all has to do with what you're ready for and are you prepared for it. And so the awakening isn't going to happen for everybody all at once. But the crazy thing is, probably 5-6 years ago, it was a very small percentage of my clients that had true awakenings, and everyone else was really dealing with a lot of health issues, health concerns. Please come and help me heal. But I would say closer to the last 2 to 3 years, people are waking up every single day. I have people reach out to me every single day through email and all over the world, in Australia, all over Europe and Canada, everywhere, say, I'm 65 years old. I just woke up. This is a whole new world. Can you help me? I'm 50 years old. I'm 30 years old. I just had a baby and everything just shifted for me. I'm in my 20s. It's happening to people all over the world every single day. More and more people are waking up. So I believe that the light is shining brighter. More and more people are awakening, and the more people that awaken, their light is influencing the vibration of the planet and the frequency. And more people it's the catalyst for other people to awaken. And these little seeds are being planted all over. And those that are ready, they're nourished and they start to grow. And then their awakening occurs every single day. That number, I don't even think there is a statistic, because I truly believe every day, by the thousands, people are waking up. And so it's happening much faster than it did 2 years ago, 3 years ago, 5 years ago, 10 years ago. And perhaps, even prior to 2012. 2012, there was a massive shift in the planetary alignment and the frequency and the Schumann resonance of the planet. So as more and more star seeds come in, more of us awaken.
Sherri Divband, we got her for another hour on Spaced Out Radio. Hard to believe we're an hour in already. What a great show we're having tonight. learning about spiritual awakening. We're going to find out about indigo kids, star seeds, and more when we return on the Mighty SOR. Woohoo!
Yay!
We got 5.5 minutes. I'm having so much fun tonight.
Oh,
Thank
good.
you.
I'm glad.
Thank you. I hope you're having a good time too.
I'm having a great time, and I'm not tired at all. Like, it's 1 o'clock in the morning, and I'm like, woohoo! I got all this energy.
Well, that's because of Dirty Filth here. So, Dirty, where are you? We saw Blob a couple of times.
She decided to make an appearance, apparently.
Very nice. I'll be right back, guys. You guys chat away.
Okay, bye, Dave.
Bye.
All right, is this complete, or are we still working on it?
This is the drawing.
I love it.
It's
All right.
oh, geez, what is it? It's a 4x6 drawing. So I usually just scribble up something before the show, and then I just decide to go with current UFO events.
This is great.
Noise.
I really like it.
We got jellyfish UFOs, people editing Wikipedia. Everybody's pointing fingers. They're all liars. And look at, I drew the gray alien with the Mick West hair.
This is great.
Funny.
I love this comedic approach to some of these heavy topics and things. Like, it lightens it up, you know. It helps people to just put things in different perspectives. You know,
Yeah,
it is what it is.
Try to make it a little comical out of everything.
Yeah, I mean,
So
that's
especially now.
how you think of things, right? When you got to make jokes about it sometimes, just to break the energy up.
And the best part is jellyfish UFOs, easy to draw. I could milk it for like 10 drawings in a row.
Yeah.
Here's one from the other day. Got a whole bunch handy here. It's like obviously you can read it. It's this little trash bag floating in the wind, thinking he's a UFO, and the jellyfish saying he's a floating trash bag, and then the gray alien saying at least he's not a smear in a lens, because apparently the jellyfish UFO was a bird poop smear of some sort. People have said. I don't know. I just read the stuff, draw cartoons out of it. It's fun.
I think that's great. I love it. Will we ever truly know? That's the best part about that. That's wonderful. And your cats, they're part of the inspiration, huh?
Oh yeah, definitely. Most of these paintings have cat hair embedded in them.
Oh, I bet they do.
It's the magical power.
I have a hairless cat. And so I never have any cat hair. But I have a Doberman, and he's got this most tiny little black hairs that are so prickly, and I find them everywhere.
Doberman that's my favorite dog.
Oh, is it? Yeah, they're amazing.
I don't have space for a dog. Otherwise, I would have probably 2 so they can beat each other up. Just like I got 4 cats because the 2 old ones just bother each other, and the 2 young boys, they bother each other. Works out good in the end.
Yeah. There you go. There you go. Where are you located? Are you in Canada?
Yeah, I live in Edmonton, so I'm a province over from Dave.
Okay. Okay, cool.
We're
Melinda
both
has a
freezing.
Doberman in the chat. Yeah, Dobermans are amazing. They have a lot of energy. They're crazy. Is that even a cat, a hairless cat? Oh, they're not ugly. You know what? Some people say they're so ugly, they're cute. I happen to think mine's gorgeous. They're very majestic. They're not like cats. They're more like dogs, actually. Their personality.
I've never met a hairless cat in person. I just think they're funky looking.
They are funky looking, but you know what? They're very outgoing and personable. They like people, and they like to play, and they're really cool. They're really cool.
Well, perhaps one day I'll come across a hairless cat, and we'll become best buddies, and I can draw a hairless cat cartoon.
You should do that.
Here's my little gremlin, as he's the space frog. Anyways,
That's awesome.
I've been rambling here, Dave. Don't worry, I haven't started any fires or sworn yet.
That is awesome.
We're having fun.
That's a record for you, Philly.
She said, I'm convinced hairless cats are aliens. Well, mine's a Lyran cat, so he is technically alien.
Lyran is Blob's real name, actually.
Really?
Yes.
That's cool. That's cool.
All right, we got about 1 minute and 20 seconds to go. How much fun are we having tonight? Thank you, Dirty Filth. You're amazing.
You're welcome.
Yeah.
Have a good night.
You too, buddy. Thank you for the art.
Yeah, thank you.
That's what we do around here. Provide a nice cartoon for everybody.
I love it. I think it's an amazing idea.
Yeah. Yeah. Dirty Filth is amazing. We love him around here. You know? Let's see here. All right. We have to say thank you to Amy, Jennifer, DA, and Monica for the super chats tonight. Very much appreciate the love and support. If you guys are wanting to, let me just do something here. Hold on. Sarah, you're back on the juice. You got to get off it. Here we go, everybody.
You're listening to Spaced Out Radio with Dave Scott. Follow Dave on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio and on Facebook, Spaced Out Radio Show.
Here we go with hour number 2 of Spaced Out Radio tonight. My name is Dave Scott. Very much appreciate earning your listening ears wherever you are on this beautiful planet we call Earth. Hi to everyone listening in on our terrestrial affiliates around North America, digitally on Odyssey Radio, TalkStream Live, and KPNL. All of our archives are free. Join us at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do old Davey the favor, hit that subscribe button. The Desert Clam has set the password for tonight in the SOR Space Travelers Club. Rampalion is your password. Use it wisely, Space Travelers, as the Clam sets the password each and every night right here on Spaced Out Radio. Our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the news wire, check out our swag as well. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on Patreon in the Space Travelers Club. We continue on tonight with our good friend Sherri Divband. We are looking into spiritual awakening, but we're going to get into children right now because so many children are coming into this planet already awake. We've seen kids a lot more accepting. They're a lot more open to ideas of ghosts, cryptids like Bigfoot, aliens, and alien life out there. And not only out there, but visiting here. Sherri, welcome back.
Thank you so much for having me back.
All right. Why do you think these newer generations, and I have 3 kids. My eldest is 25, my middle is 20, and my youngest is 10. And yet I see all 3 of them, say the last 25 years, very much open to what life's possibilities are, and that there is more out there, spiritually speaking, than we've probably ever known in the past. Why are children over the last quarter century really seeming to be a lot more open?
I believe it's because they are a wave that pre-planned to come through to help us with the ascension, to help us awaken, to help us save ourselves. I don't like the savior complex. I don't believe anyone is here to save us. But I do believe that there are many characters that come in to help us save ourselves, to help us awaken, to help us realize, break out of the loop like I talk about. And so a lot of these children choose the parents they're going to come through, into the families that they're going to come through. Generally, the families that these starseed children come into have indigo parents or spiritually awakened parents, or that are planned to awaken if they haven't yet. Maybe the children are their awakening, like with me. And so they come in with higher wisdom. They come in from a higher density. So majority of the starseeds that are coming into the planet right now are fifth density and beyond, meaning their consciousness of fifth density or higher. Some of them are coming from other star systems, other universes, coming from inner Earth. Some are being reincarnated as Bigfoot. They're coming out into the outer as humans. I've met several. I've met some people who are dogmen in other realities, and they're here as a human now. So there are a lot of players. There are fairies. There are all sorts of energy beings that are coming in as human beings that are very advanced, very skilled, very knowledgeable, to help us to realign with our higher purpose, so that collectively humanity can ascend into a much higher frequency, and we can shift the trajectory of where we are, because a lot of paradigms are collapsing. That's why we're in such a mess. The educational system's collapsing. The medical industry is collapsing. This and that. The political system. I mean, everything around us is collapsing. And these beings are coming in as the way showers, the pioneers, the architects, the innovators, the leaders, the healers. So they have a very important role. So they're coming in for a specific purpose, and they're coming to guide and to teach the older generations, which is me and you and our parents and grandparents, and all the way up for those that are still on the planet, to help create waves, a ripple effect, so that it reaches the great grandparents that are still here, that perhaps as they decide to ascend in a different way through the death portal, they will be lighter and they will be more free, and then their healing process will be a lot more accelerated next time around. So they're coming in for a very specific purpose, and they all have characteristics suitable to what it is that they're here to do.
Okay, so how do we know if our child is, say, a starseed or an indigo?
So I try to break it down in my throughout my books. I have 3 books. The second one, I really get into that, and the third one. And so indigos, well, first of all, I just want to say starseeds is a loose and a very ambiguous term. Anybody watching this that's open to the idea or is asking the question, you're likely a starseed. So all of us are starseeds. All of us are stardust. All of us are infinite beings of consciousness that have had many, many incarnations in many different ways in many different places. That makes us a starseed. No one's actually from the earth. No one's actually a human being and nothing else, and this is it for them. So really and truly, everyone is a starseed. It's just a matter of, are you activated? Are you a light worker? Are you a way shower? Are you an activated starseed, or are you dormant? Are you here really connected to the 3D and very programmed for many lifetimes, and you've forgotten your way? So the starseeds are really the activated ones. Our brothers and sisters of light that are awakened, and they've come here in different ways to help ignite us. So indigos are going to be those that are in their 30s, 40s, 50s, and 60s predominantly right now. Of course, they could be a little bit older and a little bit younger, but they are the ones that came around and right kind of after the hippie period of free love, and they came into they're spiritual, but they are not pushovers. They're leaders, but they are innovators. They're architects of new ideas. They are way showers, but sometimes they can get stuck in their way because they can be a little bit more confrontational because they're trying to break out of the mold of being controlled. So many indigos don't do well with authority, have been called the black sheep of their family. They're breaking out of old ways and trying to push out into something new, and they're ridiculed for it, and they are the woo-woos in their family, and they're kind of stand alone. There's not many of them around in their life, at least growing up. They might have been the one that stood out in their family. They're the ones that are looking up into the stars saying, I want to go home. I don't like this place. I don't feel comfortable in these shoes. I don't fit in. So those are the indigos. The indigos tend to bring in the next wave of starseed children, which are the crystals. And those are in their anywhere from their 30s, 20s, and teens right now. predominantly. Again, they can be a little bit older and a little bit younger, but they come in and they're the next wave after, which is my son. So I'm an indigo, and then my son comes in the crystal energy, and they're here to bring unconditional love, much like the animals do for us. They remind humanity what it is to be loved, to feel love, to give love, to have gratitude, to hold the frequency and vibration of love, because there's so much war and hate and divide in through many different pathways in this reality on purpose to divide us. And so we have these closed off hearts, and we don't really authentically love and know what that feels like. Like me, I didn't know what it felt like. So there's crystals that are very sensitive, very forgiving, unconditional love. They are just the most beautiful energy to be around. They're a little bit pushovers though, because they're not comfortable with confrontation or in war and conflict. So they're peacekeepers. They like crystals. They like outdoors. They like nature. They love animals. They get along with everybody. They don't really have a clique, because they're just open to being friends with everybody. They're not mean. They don't really have a mean bone in their body. They're not bullies. They're just they can be quite delicate sometimes. So they do struggle because they're strong empaths. They're very if anything, super sensitive. But we needed that wave of energy to come through the planet to remind us how to love again and to open up our hearts. And so that's the crystals. Then the star children come next, and they are early 20s, teens, and still in the preteen age group right now, and still coming in actually. And they are very galactic. They are the way showers, the pioneers, the architects. They're very analytical. They are inventors, the engineers. They are more left brain minded, like they're cognitive, analytical. They like to break things down, understand how they work, and rebuild it in a better way. They're the ones that are not going to accept no for an answer. Like crystal children, they probably never get in trouble. They don't want to disappoint their parents, so they don't need to be disciplined. Stars come in and they're like, well, no, I'm not accepting this. Explain to me why. Why does it need to be? They ask the questions. They're the why children. Why does it have to be this way? But isn't there a better way? And they encourage humanity to look at things a little bit differently and to reevaluate. Is this actually still working? Just because it's been done this way for eons of time, does it still work though? But why? Is it still suitable for where we are in this now moment? So they're the thinkers. They're the change makers. Then we have the rainbows that come through, and they are still being born, and they are up into the preteens. And again, they can be a little bit higher than the teens. They can be into the early 20s. There's a lot of overlap with these. But the rainbows are a combination of everything, and they are the rebels. They are the ones that are they change the energy of the room when they walk in. They will not accept no for an answer. They are argumentative because they are very evolved beings. They're probably one of the most evolved beings. So they are ascended beings, ascended masters, ascended coming from other universes here to guide us, and they're going to be the future leaders. So they don't really do well as being children, because they don't like being children. They don't like being looked at as a child. It's just, to them, it's like, take me serious. Why are you not taking me serious? But they're saying it from like a 5-year-old, and you're looking at them like, like what's wrong with you? But they're so dynamic. They have such great ideas. They just don't know how to be humble. Although they struggle with being humble, and they're a little bit less empathic, because they're just like wrecking balls. They come through and they're I'm gonna tear everything down. And they are wolves. They are wolves, and they will not be bullied. They will stand up to bullies. They'll stand up to everybody that's in their path, because they are here on a mission to create better ways. They just have to figure out how to do it in a humble way. So that's their struggle. And then we have the divine children, who are still being born into 2025, and they started coming in 2019. And they are the most multidimensional, very psychic. They're the healers. They are the telepathic communicators, many of which are labeled with autism and Asperger's. A lot of star children are labeled with Asperger's as well, because of their analytical nature. And so they are coming in, and they're another wave of higher density of consciousness, new ways of thinking. And so they can heal you just by being in your presence. They change your whole life just by 5 minutes of being in the same room with them. They they have an everlasting impression on people, or they're talking about them for days. Like, did you meet that kid? Oh, he was incredible. Oh my God. They just, people don't even know how to interpret what they say, and their energy, their persona, their auric field is 12, 15 feet out. It's huge. And then we have the supernovas that are coming in, and they are the ones that are only here to be, once 3D breaks down, they'll be here to rebuild. They're refusing to come in at all in 3D. So they're not born yet, but they're coming in next. So there's different waves. And the reason I know about these things is for two reasons. And tell me if you want me to stop at any point.
Please keep going. This is great information.
Okay, good. My third child is a girl. So I have two boys, and then my daughter came in 2014. And she came to me in her soul, as a soul, about a year before. And she told me who she is, that she's coming into my life. She'll be my daughter, and she has a very big mission in this life. And she needed my help. And she was letting me know ahead of time she was coming, and she had a lot to teach me. So I channeled her for a year before I even got pregnant, knowing that she was going to come in. And she taught me about indigos, everything that I just told you up until divine children. She taught me. She taught me all of that. She taught me more than any book has ever taught me, anything I've ever read, watched. She is my greatest teacher. Then she came in as a child, and she was born and activated me in a completely profound way. And that's when I started to communicate more with galactic beings, because of her, really, truly. And everything that I do now is a result of her coming through. She has taught me so much about the education and the New Earth children. And our mission together is the Aramis Creative Learning Center. And we are creating new pathways of education to help cater and nurture to the New Earth children, because the old ways aren't working anymore. And so she's taught me so much, and I continue to learn through her. And because of her, I now have so many clients that are children all over the world. I work with starseed children. I work with nonverbal children. I work with highly psychic children, and I help guide them just like I would adults, but how to navigate through that in the 3D world, and how to be seen, how to be heard, how to be your authentic self. And we are creating educational alternatives so that they can kind of harvest that energy in a positive way and not be ridiculed for it. And so it's because of my daughter, but also the clients, the children that I work with, who tell me about their past lives. They tell me about where they've come from. A lot of everything in my third book, Starseeds and the Great Awakening, are channeled messages through my sessions, predominantly with children and some adults. So most of what I know and what I talk about is from souls themselves, these New Earth children, and my own. And so I'm not a researcher. I don't get my information from reading other books. I actually try not to read a lot of other books these days, because I don't want it to cloud my own thoughts and things that come through in my sessions. So I just wanted to put that out there, that a lot of what I know and what I know now that I talk about comes from the children themselves.
Right. And I can see that. How do we then define, like I look at my daughter and even my son, and if I compare them to my middle child, they seem very, my youngest and my oldest seem very old souls, very wise, very, very not set in their ways, but just very calm and relaxed. They don't get too high, they don't get too low. My middle child, who is my stepdaughter, she's got polar opposite. She seems very youthful, full of energy, full of wanting to try things, that might be out of her realm of comfortability. She's adventurous. She's absolutely polar opposite. Do we put too much stock in saying a child is an old soul, or has reincarnation really pushed the limits on the knowledge that many of these new children, these new spirits, are having?
This is a great point you're bringing up, because these days, old soul again is an old term, and it's very ambiguous. Because what you described is the same thing in my house. My daughter is a rainbow, so she's dynamic, she's adventurous, she's not afraid, She'll try anything. She's got a thirst for life. She's so excited to be here. Some people would say, well, maybe she's a first timer. She's not an old soul. But it's quite the contrary. In actuality, she came in on the rainbow energy to help us have an excitement for new energy, to rebirth new energy on the planet, to be excited to be here, to not be brought down by the mundane and lower frequency energies. Whereas my boys are very different. They're very even keeled. They're very wise beyond their years. They seem to have a steady energy where they don't get really upset, but they don't have extreme lows at the same time. They seem to be pretty even keeled all the time, and they're very wise, and they're very different, night and day different from her. So could we compare them and say one's an old soul and one's not? No, in actuality, they're all old souls, but it's the frequency that they come in through is important. That's why I'm telling you that the characteristics that these souls take on when they come is important based on what they're here to do. So my daughter is a change maker, a way shower. Your daughter as well likely is here to be a future leader. So she needs to be outgoing. She needs to be able to try new things and not be afraid to encourage others to do the same. My oldest son, is a crystal. He's here to make people feel comfortable and safe and not to be afraid, and to just bring balance. So he would make a great healer or a great coach or something in the healing modalities to help people feel safe and secure. So it's like, okay, they're both important, they're both necessary, but he chose to come in that energy, she chose to come in this energy to be conducive of what they're here to do later in life. So everybody comes in with the skill set that they are needed. And they showcase it very young by their personality. So you could kind of see, oh my gosh, she's a daredevil. They're a daredevil. They're not afraid, or they're cow. They're a little bit more shy, or they're more introverted. They're more analytical, because that's who they are. That's what they've chose to come in through. Now our genetics do play a role in that, for sure, and our environment. And there's something else I want to tell you that might throw people off, but some of our children actually do decide to come in with blocks. I know that sounds crazy. Why would you choose to come in with blocks? But because we are in a spiritual war and we are going through an ascension, a lot of times these children are targeted because they want the darkness that does exist on this planet doesn't want us to thrive. They don't want us to break free of the illusions, the patterns, the repetitive nature, the control system. So they're going to attack them in the dream space and all these other things, in the school system, the indoctrination camps, I call them. And so sometimes they'll come in blocked on purpose so that they kind of, what's the word? Like, it's almost like they're cloaked. They're invisible. They stay under the radar. And so at some time they're going to peak and no one would ever expect it. They'll have their own miniature awakening that they pre-planned to have at a certain period. But until then, they remain under the radar, undetected. So they're not going to have heightened psychic gifts or anything that's going to make them stick out. So they're just going to kind of blend in. And that's by design as well. And there are many adults who have a predetermined time for their awakening. So to answer your question from a long time ago, another thing that I forgot to mention is why isn't everybody awake? Well, because you might have a time frame on your awakening and we haven't gotten there yet. It's not time for you. You have to be 37. You have to be 42. You have to be 51. That's the time for many variables, many environmental factors, whatever the reasons you've chosen. That's the time that you're going to awaken. For me, it was 23 years old when my son came through, and that was a predetermined time. So there are time factors involved in the awakening as well.
We have about 35 seconds before we have to go to break, Sherri, at the bottom of the hour. And, I just find this very profound on how this newer generation is just, they seem so much smarter, so much more wise, so much more in control of their emotions. Yet, medical records say we're seeing higher levels of depression, anxiety, autism, Asperger's, as you stated earlier. We're seeing higher levels of all of this than we've ever seen in humanity before. So to me, it's very interesting to watch how it all plays out, because it all ties together when we really do think about it. We're going to continue the talk of humans, spirituality, how to heal ourselves We got a great guest tonight, author Sherri Divband. You who can find her work at sherridivband.com. Let's send her some Reiki. Let's talk about sound bowls. Let's get our chakras in order. It's a great show tonight. I hope you're enjoying it as much as I am. We'll be right back. Great show. Great show tonight.
It was a lot of fun.
I knew you would have fun.
I mean, there's so many different ways we could take the conversation too. It's just, we could talk for days on these topics because it's really hard to say everything because there's so many layers to it.
Right. That's the fun part.
Yeah.
That is the fun part.
It's like getting down to the right pathways of information that need to come out for the audience listening too. You know, nobody's listening by accident.
No, it's I think people get a lot out of this show tonight. Any particulars of where you want to go the next hour?
I think it's important to go into the false, the what I call false labels and really what's going on here. And I think that it's a real eye opener for a lot of people when they hear the reasons why. So we could go into that if you want.
Let's just go wherever it goes. If you want to go there, we could go there.
Yeah.
That's the beauty of what we do.
Yeah, someone's in there talking about it 68 in Florida. Yeah, it's pretty warm.
Must be nice.
Although we have had a lot of cold fronts come through that's abnormal for this area where we didn't see the sun for like 3 weeks. It rained every day in the dry season. It's been kind of crazy. So nothing like you experience in Canada, though, I'm sure.
We've only had really one bad cold snap. That was about a week ago.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
30s is too cold for me, for sure. I really enjoy the sun. We got a lot of people in the chat, a lot of good comments.
We have brilliant audience members who take part in our chat.
Yeah, I feel like you have such a loyal fan base. I love it. It's just like a community, a family here. Everyone knows each other. I love that.
Yes. Led by my personal queen of Spaced Out Radio, Kira I Am. She is just, for being one of my best friends, she is like my backbone of everything.
Oh, well, thank you for the kind comment, Kira. That's really nice. Thank you.
Yes. Kira is amazing. And you know the best part? You know, you get these people in life, and Kira has been a long time listener. You know, you get these people in life that no matter how down you are or how up you are, they make it seem like anything is possible. Like everything is within your grasp. That's Kira and her husband Mark. And they are just two of the most incredible people I have ever met on this planet. And there are not enough kind words to say about both of them.
Wow, what a nice thing to say. But love is the answer, you know? They got that crystal energy.
Yes, they are amazing. And, you know, it makes me emotional because growing up, you know, I never thought I deserved people like that in my life. And boom, there they are. And there's all these people.
Yeah, I had that same thing. I didn't feel like I deserved it. But then I realized I didn't trust that it was real. And then when I trusted, then people came into my life. And and who better than my son to be the first one? And he's like, see, I'll show you true love. I'll show you that it's real. And it's like, wow. Once you see it, you don't unsee it.
I hear you.
Crazy.
I hear you. We got about 90 seconds.
Do you do these 5 days a week?
Yes.
That's a lot of shows.
Yeah.
You have such an amazing voice, Dave. Like, I could just listen to you. I mean, it's just so soothing.
Yeah, I have a face for radio.
You definitely have a very good voice. It's perfect.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Hi, Richard Hauser from Lakeland, Florida, and Wildberry Candy. Welcome back. Thank you to our super chatters, Monica, DA, Jennifer, and Amy. And we're going to get going here in just a couple of shakes here. Couple of shakes. Whoever came up with that term, give me 2 shakes.
I know, right?
Here we go.
It's very interesting.
Here we go with the second half of Spaced Out Radio. Kick it off. My name is Dave Scott. Thank you for the love. It's a big love-in in our YouTube chat right now. A plethora of comments and compliments going all around for everybody. It's a beautiful thing, my man. Beautiful, beautiful thing. I want to remind all of you that if you've missed portions of this show or others, you can check out our free archives by going to youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do me the favor, everyone. Hit that subscribe button. Our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the Newswire. Check out our swag as well. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram, Spaced Out Radio Show, and on Patreon in the Space Travelers Club. Final time tonight, we introduce our guest, author, healer, Sherri Divband. SherriDivband.com is her website. And we're talking healing and all sorts of cool things, Sherri. But you wanted to get into something that's on your mind tonight.
Yeah. I think that the important topic that we brought up moments ago was about the mislabeling, or really the more dynamic way that we can explain. Let's say we can be careful with our words. Some of the spiritual gifts that the children that are coming through have, which can be perceived as challenges. And those challenges are labeled as such: Asperger's, dyslexia, ADHD, autism, all of these different labels. And they really can be explained. And I wanted to go through some of those. So attention deficit disorder, for example, or hyper ADHD, that is a high frequency bandwidth. So a lot of these children, because they're coming in on such a high frequency, they emit such a high frequency, they bring in so much light. The more light we bring in, the more our body has to process it. So our body is working overtime to process the energy that is coming through. And when that occurs, we have a hard time sitting still. So it's very hard for a human body to receive all of this frequency energy that comes in all the time, all throughout the day. So this hyperactivity that these children feel that they have as a result of that is movement. I can't sit still. I feel like I need to move around. Their multidimensional aspect of themselves is active. They're very active beings. They have a hard time concentrating on one thing because they're thinking about 100 things at the same time. They're tapping into their higher self, their imagination. They're in the astral. They are in so many different places at the same time because they're multidimensional beings. So when they're sitting in the classroom under the fluorescent lighting, with being told to sit still and listen for an exhaustive amount of time, they have trouble with that because they have so much energy. They're vibrating with so much of different frequency bandwidths based on the emotions that they're feeling, and they have a hard time articulating that, a hard time focusing and concentrating. So the ADHD truly is an alternate reality of perception. And they don't really fit into the 3D conformity of sitting still, don't say a word, look at your teacher, listen, memorize, regurgitate. And so they don't really conform to that because they are so much more dynamic than that. So ADHD truly is a label of a gift. So a lot of adults watching this right now who were reprimanded as children back in the day when you were in school and how much you struggled probably will relate to this because they were bored and they were thinking about a million other things and they didn't want to sit still because we're not supposed to sit still in a chair for 6 hours a day. We're supposed to be outside. We're supposed to be experiencing life and learning through life as opposed to being lectured at. And so ADHD is a really challenging label to navigate through because unfortunately, when you don't fit in the box of societal norms and the rules set forth for us, such as school dynamics, then the children are they have behavioral issues. They're sent to a physician. They're medicated. Then what happens is their frequency gets shut down and they become numb and they are zombies. And then their true authentic self is suppressed. And then they dissociate, and there's a whole other pathway that we could talk about with that. So there's a huge explanation for that. Asperger's, for example, is another one. So they're the star beings come in. They're very analytical. They're engineer mind. They're very mathematical. They're very precise. They need routine to help them feel anchored and secured to their environment. That's their security blanket. So they don't really relate to children and children activities and children's toys. They don't play well with other kids. They want to be with the adults. Their mind is thinking a million miles a minute and they're constantly inventing, or they're tapping into their engineer mind. They're very left brain. They're very analytical. So they lack the sensory skills sometimes, or the ability to relate to other people. So they're looked at or perceived as rude, or not nice to the other kids, or not personable. They won't look at your eyes because they see more than we can see. I had a child tell me once, I said, why won't you look at people in their eyes? He said, because I can see their demons and it scares me. So a lot of these New Earth children can see beyond the veil of what's in front of them. They see your intentions. They can tell if you're lying. They can see entity attachments that you have. They can see everything. They see your auric field, and it's overwhelming. It's almost like us walking around and being able to see everyone naked. Like, I don't want to see that. Like, they don't want to see that. So they blind themselves to it. They just look away. They won't look at you straight in the eyes. So Asperger's, again, they're highly intelligent beings that come in. They try to blend themselves with other children, and they really have a hard time doing that. They just want to be older than they are. They just want to work. They just want to go in and be the engineer they came in to do and invent things or get into technology. A different spectrum of autism. Of course, there's different spectrums, but autism in general is another variation of the starseeds coming in and trying to merge with the human experience, but they're so multidimensional, and so they have trouble playing with other children. Maybe they lack the intelligence because they're very right brain. So they want to create. They need opportunity to create, to use their imagination through art. So they struggle with the sciences and the maths and the intellect portion, the left brain, because they're very right brain oriented. So they're here to be the inventors of new ideas in a different way. The writers, the architects, the expanders. So all these labels that we have created, yes, they can be secondary to what everyone's probably thinking, and I don't know what words we're allowed to say, but things that we get throughout our childhood at the doctor that could have side effects. But in reality, there is a whole other world to the labels that we've created for the children, and they're just high frequency starseed children with coming in with a completely new wave of energy, a new way of doing things. And because it's different than what we're used to, we have now created labels for them and separated them from everyone else. And it's looked at and perceived as a disability, when in reality, these are all really beautiful gifts that if we could just nurture them and nourish their abilities and heighten them and help them expand on them, then the children would have a completely different experience, as opposed to being shunned or told they have behavioral issues or tell them that they're wrong and they need to be like the other children. And so there's such a misguided. And when I talk to majority of parents, actually, I've never had a parent I've told this to that had a child suffering in one of those categories of being labeled and the challenges that they've endured, that they literally will cry, break down crying, because they said, you just described my child. That makes so much sense. Thank you so much. No one has ever said it like that before. And because we need to expand our thinking and recognize that these children are coming in, not as they're children now, but they're high frequency beings that of light that come in with a lot of beautiful gifts. And we just aren't being taught or shown to look at them that way. If anything, it's inconvenient to the system. So I just wanted to bring that up to expand the audience's kind of thoughts a little bit beyond the norm.
How does reincarnation play a role in what your studies think?
Well, reincarnation is everything, because I believe that everybody that's on this planet right now chose to be here. Now we can get into a much deeper conversation about the wheel of samsara and the wheel of suffering and the reincarnation 3D wheel of reincarnation, where people were soul trapped and many people were reincarnated against their will. That's a whole other conversation. But there are many of us that have chosen to be here right now, most of us that are not NPCs, that are here to fuel the fire of change and to be part of the Great Awakening, a new era, the ascension. And so we chose to come into this life. And most of us are surrounded by our soul family, whether it's our parents, our siblings, our aunts and uncles, our children, our spouses, our best friends, our neighbors, and everything. We all are playing roles. And I, the way I understand it, again, through my sessions and how it's been shown to me through my sessions with clients, is we choose how we are going to reincarnate and what role we're going to play. And from our wisdom and our spiritual gifts, how can we contribute? So when I have a session with people, the first thing they want to know is, what's my purpose? Why did I choose to be in this ascension right now? And I say, well, let's look at it. Let's communicate with your higher self and find out what in fact you are here to do. What role are you playing? So if we take Dave for an example, Dave came here to live a certain amount of time of his life, to be within the 3D and experience the 3D, the sports, and just be closed off to all of this stuff initially, just to live a certain life, a certain time frame, to learn, to grow, to go through traumas, to heal. All of these things, all of them play a factor. And then you have your awakening. And now look what you're doing here. You're bringing awareness to thousands upon thousands of people who you've now started a community, where you started a community, and people look forward to guests coming on your show to expand their mind even more by learning a variety of new topics and some taboos and taboo topics and lots of different things. And it's beautiful because it's not limited to just one thing, and you're expanding. Like you said, when I came on, we don't normally talk about what I'm talking about tonight, but perhaps this is something that your audience is thirsty for and maybe didn't know it. So your role in the collective is the part of the awakening process to help people awaken through these different conversations. So that is the purpose that you have taken on for this period right here. So that's an example of that. So we're all playing our roles, and we reincarnate in different planets in different ways for different reasons, whether it's to learn, to grow, or to contribute. Many people who are here right now have already ascended, and they've come in to be part of the solution, to be part of the change, and to help awaken those around them in many different ways.
I can see that. And I can see, the choices that Spirit has and what we want to do. Do we get to choose the life paths that we take moving into the future?
I believe very much so. Yes, we do. Unless we choose to reincarnate on another 3D planet, and another planet in the third dimension or lower, then that's different. But we have the free will to choose our destiny. And so moving forward, we will have the ability to do that.
Okay. So do we go through a bunch of old souls then? Like how like if I were to look at myself, how would I be able to tell how many times I've reincarnated?
Well, I think a majority of us, we're millions of years old. Like, I don't think that there's a number on it. It's the more appropriate question is, how many times have you come to Earth, perhaps? How many lives have you had on this planet in the 3D to assist in the ascension and the awakening or in your learning. That could be, it could be 10, it could be 50, it could be hundreds. But outside of this reality, I don't think that you can put a number on it. Maybe you had a lifetime where you lived one day. Maybe you were a rock. Maybe you were part of the ocean. Maybe you were a dragon. Like you could. It's too numerous to count, because we sometimes think about our reincarnations as just human beings, but there's so much more to it than that. Like I said, I've communicated with a lot of Bigfoot who say that their reality, their dimension is very real, very vibrant, but there are bleed throughs. And so now we have these bleed throughs where people are going into these national parks, and they, next thing you know, they walk into another dimension. There's portals everywhere, and they're becoming more activated as the veil becomes more thin. And so then they'll see Bigfoot, and they're like, oh my God, look at that. And some of them may even capture pictures, because there's a bleed through instantly between the two dimensional fields that you're in. Some walk into a higher dimension. Sometimes they walk into our lower dimension. So there's these anomalies that are occurring all over the place.
All right, question from Sandra. How does a teacher deal with these children when they disrupt class without hindering them?
Sandra, you asked the golden question, because the problem is this public school system isn't designed to cater to these, because they have this old world mentality of thinking, where they don't think about it the way that I just explained it to you. And so they are troublemakers. So unfortunately, they remove them from the class. And this is why we're trying to create an alternative pathway by creating other opportunities for children to learn in different environments that cater to them, as opposed to hinder them and suppress them. So Sandra, I work with teachers all over the world, and we've had meetings about it. And their frustration is they want to cater to the children, they want to help, but then they get in trouble by their superiors by telling them, no, you can't do that. Like, I want to try this. No, you can't. Put them in this other class. So we're hitting blocks left and right. And that's the problem. That's the conundrum we're in right now, is we have millions of great teachers out there that are trying to make a difference. Parents that are aware, but the public school system isn't allowing us to put the resources into it. So that's why people like me are saying, you know what, let's create something else. Let's provide a different pathway so that parents that are feeling like their children are struggling have another place to go where they are safe to be themselves and they are no longer disruptors. And we figure out ways to incorporate them into the lessons in a much more cohesive way. And then that's where we try new things. And then that's what we're doing.
That makes sense. That makes absolute sense. I mean, we have to cater to the children, and as long as we can teach them properly and be a part of what they need, I think that benefits all on this planet for moving forward. Do you get a choice of where you want to go? Like, is free will that strong that we can say, hey, I may be Dave on this planet, but in the next lifetime, I'd like to be a bird flying in one of the Goldilocks zone Earth-like planets out there. Do we get to choose?
Absolutely. I believe that we're autonomous beings, that we have the ability to do what it is that we wish. I think the thing that surprises people is, why would I have chosen to come in and experience hardship? But imagine if you've had thousands and thousands of years of pure bliss, soaring above the mountains in this beautiful planet, and souls do get bored. I mean, I've had sessions with people who are like, I have ascended, and I wanted to try something new. I wanted to go back into and experience something new. So it's really all about what we want to experience. But we have the ability to have some really difficult challenges, and then we have the ability to have lives that are just pure joy and bliss and everything in between.
How do we keep that bliss up, knowing that life is very difficult right now?
Well, okay, so this is the important thing. Everybody is, when I say everybody, different universes and many planets are watching right now. I mean, it really is a Truman Show if you think about it, what's happening here on the earth right now, because this is a spiritual war. So the rules have gone out the door. they're not following the free will, the law of free will for many generations. We really have become trapped here. Many people have become trapped here. So this is a dire situation to help people break free, the souls that have been trapped here. So we have volunteers like you and me and thousands, millions of others all over the world that chose to descend, to come into this planet to help and guide the awakening process, which is what we're doing right now by spreading our word, writing books, doing podcasts, going out and doing lectures and workshops and everything, and even passive roles, just being in your community and affecting people in your neighborhood by the things that you say or your positive energy. And like we were saying with Kira, like just her love vibration, just even on that level, and the implications that can have on so many others as it ripples through the collective. So a lot of the people chose to descend, to come in and help, because we have soul family here that maybe has been trapped. So we're all hands on deck in coming here to be in a really difficult situation because we chose to help. We wanted to help. We are here to help. That's why this is such a big deal, and we cannot fail, which I don't think that we have. I think we've already won. We have to physically catch up to the manifestation of the energy. And it's a long trajectory, but we're almost there. Like we're at the tail end of it now.
You know what? It's amazing how, we're at almost the tail end of the golden children. We're almost at the tail end of this show. We got 3 minutes to go. Tell me about the end. What do you mean by the end of it now?
Well, what I mean by that is, I guess there is never an end. It's really more of a transformation. So an enlightenment. So imagine the collective going through a massive awakening and an enlightenment to shift the trajectory so that we can tap into a higher level of consciousness. So we can tap into 5D. That's what this 3D, 5D is all about. So we're stuck in a lower level of consciousness where we are trapped in the mundane, the monotony, the repetitive nature, being in the loop, and the control. If we have, as the veil thins, we break through the illusion, we tap into a higher level of consciousness in a higher density, which is 5D and beyond. And then we create new pathways. We transmute the negative, and we stand together and we create new education systems. We say, no, I don't want that for my child. We stop going to the medical systems, and we go to the more natural route, and we slowly make change together, collectively, each playing our own role. And so it's not really the end. It's more of a rebirth, a new beginning in new energy. But we all work to transform it, to transmute it, individually, but also collectively. And that's what this process is about. So it's not necessarily an end. It's really, truly just a beginning, a new beginning, a rebirth of something new, the golden age.
Some of us haven't even hit that golden age yet.
Well, listen, time is flying by, and as everyone can attest to right now. So we are getting there exponentially faster, and things happen in phases. So we are in the phase right now where we break down the paradigms and we start to heal and we build the new. That's where we're in that really uncomfortable period that no one wants to get there. Like, when you go on a vacation and you're like, I just want to get there. I don't want to go to the airport, get on the airplane. I just can't wait till I get there. We're in the airport right now. Like, no one wants to be here, but we all have to get through it. We work together. And then once we get to our final destination, the golden age, it will all be worth it. So we got to pull our sleeves up and we got to work together. We have to have compassion for each other. We have to stop fighting with each other. We have to stop hating. Some people are in the chat, like, being pretty mean to each other. We have to stop doing that and attacking and just come together with unity and say, hey, man, are you okay? Something happened to you today that got you really upset? Like, these are the things that we do to build bridges and work together so that we can get there faster.
30 seconds to go tonight. But I want to say a big thank you, Sherri, for coming on Spaced Out Radio for your first time. Our audience has loved you. I think you've been absolutely knowledgeable and very understanding and empathic towards the entire night. Do me a favor, tell everybody where they can find your books and your website. Yes,
thank you. SherriDivband.com. If you're interested in education, it's AramisCreativeLearning.com. We also have a nonprofit, the AramisCollective.com. And my books, Intuitive Transformation Evolution, Divinely Guided, Starseeds and the Great Awakening, and I have 9 children's books called Divinely Guided Children, all on Amazon and Barnes & Noble.
Thank you, Sherri, for coming on Spaced Out Radio tonight. Coming up next, in hour 3, Steve Stockton kicks things off. Follow that up with the remainder of the show with little Timmy Senor. Yes, the Timbit is back. Told you that would fly by.
Oh my God, that was so fast.
Yeah, we're good that way. I'll let you go get some sleep. Thank you on behalf of our audience that you were able to join us here. Very much appreciated. You're
Thank you
amazing.
so much for having me on the show. It was an honor.
Oh, I think so too. It's an honor to have you here. I mean, not an honor for me to have you here.
I know what you mean.
All right. Sherri,
All
take
right.
care.
Take care,
Thank you
everybody.
for your knowledge.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Sherri Divband. I will be right back, people. Hey, Woo Train. I'm back. Yay me. Excuse me. Hope you're having a wonderful night. I really liked her. She was nice. Oh, that's all right, Lisa. Thank you for your love and support. Yes, StreamYard now has an option here. Rob G started it last night. StreamYard now has an option where we can, after the show is done, we can actually clip out shorts. It's a game changer for us. Absolute game changer. Thanks, Ross Lambda. Thank you tonight to Kira, Monica, DA, Jennifer, and Amy for the super chats. Very much appreciate the love and support. And yeah, here we go, everybody. Here comes hour 3.
Would you like to connect with us? Head to spacedoutradio.com for all your latest show info. Now, back to Dave Scott and SOR.
Third and final hour of Spaced Out Radio is now underway. Thank you so much for joining us. My name is Dave Scott. Very much appreciate earning your listening ears wherever you are on this beautiful planet we call Earth. Hello to everyone listening in on our terrestrial affiliates around North America, digitally on Odyssey Radio, TalkStream Live, and KPNL. All of our archives are free. You can join us at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do me the favor, hit that subscribe button. The Desert Clam has set the password for tonight in the SOR Space Travelers Club. Rampalion. Rampalion is your password. Use it wisely, Space Travelers, as the Clam sets the password each and every night right here on Spaced Out Radio. Our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the news wire. Check out our swag as well. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on Patreon in the Space Travelers Club. Let us say hello to Steve Stockton from Among the Missing YouTube channel as he brings us another spooky story.
Hello, friends. Welcome to Among the Missing YouTube channel on Spaced Out Radio. I'm Steve Stockton, and I'm about to take you on an unbelievable journey of people just like you. Their stories and encounters will haunt us on Among the Missing. 68-year-old Paul Colucci was last seen on September 8, 2021, at the Roaring Brook Campground in Baxter State Park, Maine. He had booked a 2-night stay at the Russell Pond Campground and arrived there around 9:45 a.m. on September 8. He parked his light green 2015 Toyota Prius at the Roaring Brook parking lot, where he intended to leave it during his stay. The vehicle was backed in with the key fob inside, and it was unlocked. A park ranger spoke to Paul sometime between 10:30 and 11 a.m. regarding the park and Paul's plans for the trip. After the conversation, Paul continued on the trail toward Russell Pond and was not seen or heard from again. The day after, on September 9, Paul's family received concerning letters, prompting authorities to initiate a search. Despite extensive efforts by park rangers, officers, and volunteers to find any clues, Paul's whereabouts remain unknown. Paul Colucci is described as a Caucasian male, standing 5 foot 10 inches tall and weighing between 150 to 160 pounds. He has graying hair and blue eyes. He was last seen wearing a red long-sleeve shirt, tan shorts with a tan belt, a dark hat, and gray/green hiking boots. Paul was also carrying a backpack and a rifle. Anyone with any information regarding Paul's disappearance or whereabouts is asked to contact the Maine State Police at 207-532-5400 and reference case number 2021-52-10. Next, we have the disappearance of Zhongyan Wan. According to the National Park Service, 45-year-old Zhongyan Wan's white Toyota Camry was found abandoned at Moran Point on the south rim of Grand Canyon National Park on September 17, 2017. Investigators also found that his car had been seen near the New Hants trailhead, but nobody could confirm if Zhongyan was in or around the vehicle. Zhongyan has been missing ever since, and little information is available regarding his disappearance. Zhongyan Wan is described as an Asian male, 5 foot 7 inches tall, 121 pounds, with black hair and brown eyes. Anyone with information is asked to please contact the National Park Service at 888-653-0009. And lastly, we have the case of Daniel Lynn Dan Campbell. Tracy Erb was eagerly waiting to meet her boyfriend, Daniel Lynn Dan Campbell, who was 42 years old, in the Jardine area outside of Yellowstone National Park on April 6, 1991. The couple lived in Sweetgrass County, Montana, and had big plans for the future. 2 days before their meetup, on April 4th, Dan had entered the park with his loyal dog to search for elk antlers. On that day, Dan had entered Yellowstone National Park and was dropped off with his 1-year-old Australian Shepherd Heeler mix named Freckles at the Hellroaring Creek trailhead. Unfortunately, this was the last time anyone saw or heard from him. On April 8, 1991, he was officially reported missing, and a search and rescue effort was launched. According to sources, Dan only packed a small amount of gear as he did not plan on staying in the park for long. As the weather changed and thunderstorms rolled in, concerns about his safety and well-being grew. Despite being experienced outdoorsman with extensive knowledge in pole cutting, Dan stood little chance against the elements without proper equipment and clothing. During the search, authorities failed to uncover any sign of Dan or Freckles, which led his family to believe that he had met with foul play. In the months after his disappearance, Dan's brother, Billy Campbell, told the Helena Independent Record, quote, "He'd been running with some pretty shady characters. I'm not saying he's an angel, because he's not," end quote. His younger brother, Rod Campbell, further told the Deseret News in July 1991, quote, "If Dan's in the park, he's buried. I don't think Dan is alive. How that demise came? Well, I've got a lot of mixed emotions about it," end quote. Now, there were rumors that Dan ran away to start a new life, but his family denied them. They stated he was going to inherit a large sum of money, which he planned to use to buy a new house. Due to the lack of updates in Dan's case, his family grew increasingly frustrated with law enforcement. In February 2000, they filed a federal lawsuit against Park County Sheriff Charlie Johnson. According to news reports, the lawsuit stated that Sheriff Johnson, quote, "breached his legal duty to properly and competently conduct the investigation relating to the disappearance of Dan Campbell," end quote. As of 2024, no trace of Dan Campbell or his dog Freckles has been found.
And thank you to Steve Stockton from Among the Missing for another great night of storytelling. You can find more by going to Steve's YouTube channel, signing up for free. Go to youtube.com/Among the Missing. And there are plenty of stories right there for you. From the missing to the mysterious, the Timbits is back as we bring in little Timmy Senor.
Nobody's gonna know. They're gonna know.
Good to have you back, my man, as we take a look at a bunch of UFO stuff that is going on right now and some projects you are working on. And thank you for staying up late and joining us tonight.
Yeah, buddy. Thanks for the invitation. It's great to see you. You are styling some beautiful beardage, my friend. It is getting
Thank you.
thick. That's beautiful.
Driving me nuts.
Is it driving you nuts? Kind of like a steering wheel in your front of your pants. Okay, so you know what? I'm back, and why? Because you guys get me. You guys get me, and we're going to talk about UFOs, and that's a lot of fun. And so the prodigal son returns, and Dave, I think I sent you some tasty stuff. Are you up on all of those things that I sent your way? I mean, is it old news to you?
Kind of sent them during showtime, and so I really didn't have an opportunity to actually read them over.
Well, don't worry
We're
about
going
it.
in cold. We're going
We'll
in
just
cold.
wing it. We'll wing it. That's kind of how we roll. Cool. So recently, obviously, Kirkpatrick is in the headlines, and he was on a recent Audible podcast called In the Room with Peter Bergen. And there were a few pretty key takeaways if you're interested in what he has to say about Arrow and his role there and some of what he took as a takeaway from there also. So since Congress established Arrow back in July of 2022, it's taken a keen interest in learning more about what high levels of government has known about UFOs. And so recently Congress passed one bill that's requiring the release of some UFO records. And it introduced another that would create a reporting mechanism for commercial pilots. So there is something useful coming out of there. Meanwhile, Kirkpatrick and his office have set about interviewing witnesses, quote unquote, interviewing, in the military while reviewing the video, radar, and other data backing up firsthand accounts of UAP for a report recently handed over to Congress. And so in his estimate, about 2 to 5% of all these reports Arrow investigated are truly anomalous, meaning that they defy a simple natural explanation without further investigation. And so in a quote here, he says, most of the time when we can't give an explanation, it's because there's a lack of data, of course. And so what Kirkpatrick learned about Roswell conspiracy theories actually, in his opinion, kind of interrupts and has some kind of interaction with what actually takes place in the truth, quote unquote, in history. And so he says that he chalks all the UFO hoopla up to top secret government programs and not to reverse engineering of alien ships. And so they were back into manufacturing high altitude metallic spy balloons. And in his estimation, recovery operations to retrieve those down balloons, as well as a very real, very fatal military plane crash at the time, combined to perpetuate the UFO myth of Roswell. And so he goes into a little more detail here, and we will talk more about the metallic balloon theory because he brings that up a little bit later. But in a quote here, he says, everybody's still raw from that war and lots of technological issues that people are trying to wrap their minds around. And all that affected a lot of what people saw and how they reported. I think the same things are true today. So you can kind of see where he's gathering his data and opinions attached. So the thing that, in continuing the quote here, we go, the best thing that could have happened in this job is I found aliens and I could have rolled them out, but there's none. And there is no evidence of aliens, and there's no evidence of the government conspiracy. And so, as we know, he kind of one by one goes through all of Grush's claims and tries to kind of undermine them, calling him a true believer, and that a lot of people that are already in government perhaps informed him. So although he may have been informed by high government officials, they are too true believers. So the information is actively undermining the truth, quote unquote, that he is trying to search for. So a lot of the whistleblowers that were brought forward are bringing forward information that is actually, I guess we'd have to say, discounting the actual facts that he was digging up. And he calls these facts, part of the office's mission is to not prove the existence of extraterrestrials. And the office's mission is to minimize technical and intelligence surprise. Okay. And I think that's important to note. And Dave, I'm going to let you jump in here because I don't know if you guys have been talking a lot about this topic on the show or not, but I'm going to bring up a couple of things I found interesting in this that might, I don't know, explain away some of what mythologically we're calling UAP here.
Well, you know what? Here's the thing. I'm going to put this in a personal example because I think we've all worked with that guy. When I worked in sports radio, it was one of the most exciting jobs I've ever had in my life. Dealing with athletes, covering games, covering practices, get to ask all the questions, trying to dodge the cliches, trade rumors, and the signing of new players. For every sports junkie, I had a dream job. And you know what? I worked for an arrogant jerk where every day it was pouring rain in his life. And he's actually the reason why I got out of sports radio. Okay, because that arrogance turned into bullying and he just, in my opinion, really didn't appreciate the position we were in. We got paid, man, to go to hockey games and football games and baseball games and golf matches and everything. Like, if you have 1 ounce of interest in sports, you were jealous of my job. Okay? And I don't say that to brag. I say that as the person I worked for really, really killed that fun. And Dr. Sean Kirkpatrick reminds me a lot of my former boss, where every day's a rainy day. There's nothing there, Chief Wiggum. There's nothing to see here. And I don't understand how you could have a position of a lifetime. Okay. Any one of our audience members, you, me included, Tim, would love to have that job, would love to be that person in charge to see what more we could find out there. You are literally having your fingers as close as possible to potential disclosure, not just of UFOs and alien life, paranormal, cryptids, they all tie into one. And he just seemed like the job meant nothing to him. He was just there collecting a paycheck, didn't really want to get into anything. And if he did, he was either A, bought by alphabet agencies at the Pentagon that nothing ever happens, there's no aliens, there's no nothing out there, stop bugging me. Or he was just so disinterested in the job that he didn't even bother trying. And by the sounds of it, in my opinion, it may have even been a combination of both, especially if you believe David Grush's congressional testimony, where he swore on oath saying that he tried to get a hold of Sean Kirkpatrick numerous times to no avail. Well, the only way you're not answering that phone call is if you either don't care or you're told not to care and not find anything. That's what I find this very, very weird and strange, Tim.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think, to balance it out, he had a tough job and he had to be diplomatic with the information he was given. And yet he was mysteriously at the NASA hearings and deeply involved in that. Why? Why is the DoD so interested in what NASA's up to? Obviously, they work hand in glove, but that's not what they're trying to present publicly. And so whether he's a useless idiot or not, a figurehead or not, a spokesperson or not, is irrelevant. There were a lot of other pieces to this machine that were working behind the scenes, making the decisions of what was public, what he said, and how he operates. We know that. And unfortunately, he ended up being the butt of this joke because we didn't get anything out of it. And his most recent findings that he stands behind is that not only was Roswell, a balloon, but it's an ongoing program that we are mislabeling UFOs as these balloons. And he even goes into details in this most recent podcast. And he reveals that the Pentagon's former UFO chief here reveals that his conclusion to one of the most famous UFO cases of the modern era, the Navy's baffling cube in a sphere UFO, was just a super high-tech drone. And the US Navy fighter pilots had reported seeing these otherworldly craft at the Atlantic coast between 2014 and 2015, which nearly tore the wing off of an FA-18 Super Hornet that was flying with the USS Roosevelt during one incident. Now, Kirkpatrick, the Pentagon's recently hired UFO chief, says that the objects were likely next-generation spherical drones that move very accurately. And while not confirmed, his description matches a drone prototype made public by Chinese researchers in 2022, a silver orb with 8 thrusters configured at the tips of an internal cube, making it capable of unprecedented mid-air twists and turns. The case highlights why UFOs must be taken seriously and not be subject to ridicule. And that's coming from Kirkpatrick. However, what he's considering UFOs and UAP are obviously Chinese-made drones. So Dr. Kirkpatrick's new comments come ahead of the Pentagon's congressionally mandated historical record report. And given, we see how he is presenting this, he's obviously either obfuscating the truth of what UFOs really are with the balloon theory all over again. And by the way, Dave, you and I mentioned this at the time, back then, that it was Roswell all over again. And it absolutely feels like it now with this quote. And the fact that on the splash page of the Daily Mail is a perfect spherical drone with the details and his face, explaining this off. It really does feel like Project Blue Book and all of that went down the toilet back then, how all of that valuable research was just waved away as part of our own drone technology, or our opponents recovered drone technology. Dave, do you feel that this is the truth? Do you feel that this is more BS? Or do you feel that there's a mixture of both?
No, I think it's Sean Kirkpatrick giving his own opinion of what he felt, because he's not interested in this topic. We know he's not interested in this topic. And look, there's way too much evidence out there. Way too much evidence out there for anybody to be in such denial, Tim. And he's in big time denial with what's going on. And I don't agree with it. It doesn't feel comfortable. It feels shady. It feels ugly. And I don't know whether that's Kirkpatrick or if that's the people above him who made him that way. I don't get it.
How do you feel about how he handled his whistleblowers that came forward bravely to talk to him and to present publicly? How do you feel about him brushing them off as true believers?
How would he know if he hasn't talked to him? How would he know? He's assuming. That's the issue. He's assuming. And that's not what this is about. This is about trying to come up with facts, man. It's trying to come up with people who are experiencing things and how can we prove it? How can we make? How is that being told that it is actual reality? That's what we need to figure out. Little Timmy Senor is here on Spaced Out Radio. Yeah, with his hero, Dr. Sean Kirkpatrick. We know he loves him. And we will continue talking some UFO stuff when we return on the Mighty SOR. Stay tuned. There we go.
UFO nerds.
UFO nerds. Oh, look who shows up for his monthly appearance. It's little Granty Baker.
God, I love that guy.
Yeah.
Surf
The
that
man
mustache
can grow
out.
a mustache like anything.
Uh-huh. Yeah. Forget about it.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a little worried about Freckles. Missing from among the missing. This is the dog.
Yes.
It was the hunter's dog.
Oh,
And
yes.
I'm worried about the hunter, but Freckles.
I hear you. I hear you. I'm more worried about right now going to bed later.
Yeah, you look sleepy. Wicked sleepy, buddy.
I am tired.
Well, stay awake for another 30 minutes for me, would you?
I'll make it happen. Don't you worry.
He brings me on to fall asleep. That's what it is. He knows that I'm just going to read out the stories, Timmy.
I have my sleep test tomorrow.
Oh, I think you're going to pass.
Oh, yes. I'm going to pass with flying colors. So excited about it.
Yeah, they're going to be like rattling the doors. They're going to be like, somebody sawing wood? Like, who has a chainsaw? It's
Pretty
Dave.
much.
I've slept under the same roof as you.
I know.
You're not a quiet sleeper.
Not a quiet sleeper at all.
I thought you were eating.
No.
He's dead asleep,
No.
snoring away.
Yep. I can fall asleep anywhere.
Can you drink with that thing too? Because that'd be cool. If it doubles like a trunk. Can just
I don't know. I did not get 9 hours of sleep. Who gets 9 hours of sleep?
9 hours, please.
Who does that?
I know, right? This day and age.
Right? Oh, yeah.
I'm lucky to get like bursts of 2 hours without getting woken up by something wanting something to eat or drink or a cat or just forget about it. It's too much. Too much going on. 5, y'all.
Mm-hmm.
One is plenty. I mean,
I just want to get back in the field, man.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. And I think it's so funny when you were talking earlier about the fact that the people that are researching it are literally looking at data that comes across their desk, whatever comes across their desk. You got to get out there. Like you want your mind changed. Go to a hotspot. Hang out with Dave. Follow his team around.
Right?
Yeah. I mean, the experience is out there if you want it. And here's the thing, for all we know, they totally have live aliens just chilling under the White House somewhere deep. And they like smoke cigar, like the best cigars, and sip the finest whiskey and have deep telepathic conversations about the universe. I mean, I'd like to think that that's true. And I mean, come on, what was the movie that was like the ultimate stoner movie with the alien, with the British guys? Do you know what's the movie? Someone in the audience is going to throw it in chat, but that's probably what it's like. He's just probably like us. You know, the aliens are probably just like us.
Well, true enough.
But, just look a little different.
Yeah, they look more like you.
Right. Yeah, I'm semi-evolved in their eyes. It's probably why they hang out with me so much.
That's why they call you Little Timmy Senor, my man.
They
You
like
just
to
can't
scare
make
you.
that stuff up. Can't make that stuff up.
They like to surprise you. That's for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Chock full of surprise. Who knows what it is? The phenomenon. Cheers, Dave. What are you drinking?
I got iced tea tonight.
Good choice. Look at that.
Yeah.
Here you go, right here. Bing. We could probably do this carefully. Shibling. Nice.
Nice.
Okay, so we're coming back with the final, right?
Yeah, in like 8 seconds.
Beautiful.
Here we go. Let's get going with the final half hour of Spaced Out Radio tonight. Special guest Little Timmy Senor is with us. Reminder to all of you that if you missed most of this show or others, check out our free archives by go to youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do me the favor. Hit that subscribe button. Our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the news wire, check out our swag as well. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on Patreon in the SOR Space Travelers Club. Here we go with Little Tim. We're talking some UFOs tonight. Talking about China, talking about drones. You know, Tim, we've been saying it for a while. It's all about UAPs when it comes to anything made man-made. You know, and yet here we are, and we're still waiting for news out of what is a UFO and what is not. Your thoughts, Tim?
My thoughts are simple. If the military's capturing it on camera, if it's military footage, it's going to be drones. Because UFOs are not going to get captured on camera. Sorry, that's just not the way they move. My experience is they're practically, you have to be so lucky. You have to literally have your camera rolling and then slow it down. And it has to be a high speed camera at that. It's just, and they don't hang out for long, right? So do I believe that a lot of this stuff is drone footage that they're releasing? Yes. That's all UAP stuff. And Dave and I tried to kind of decipher that early on by just labeling it that way. Simply just stamp it UAP for now, because if it manages to be UFO, 1 in a billion, super. Your source is going to be from your public at this point, you know, a dependable public source. You're not going to get the truth from the military. They're not going to release a real UFO video of either aliens or alien craft, in my opinion, because that's too big a conversation to have and an explanation behind it. Right.
Oh, yeah.
And so they're going to cover it up with, we can't tell you because of the ways and means that we captured it and all that. But we know that's nonsense. However, and this is my last story for the night. I didn't even know that this was going on. A Wisconsin lawmaker has introduced a bill that's going to allow pilots to report UFOs without professional retaliation. And so there's a new kid on the block. I didn't know that this guy was out there. But Wisconsin congressman has introduced this legislation that would allow the pilots to directly report any aviation-related employees directly. And so without the fear of any professional retaliation or having their competency called into question. And so I guess so Representative Glenn Grothman is his name. And he is going to be one of the forerunners on this new introduced bill that came out earlier this month. And so he says in a quote that since I was a child, unidentified objects in our airspace have been a topic of interest. And so ever since he was a kid, right? And then I find that important. And he continues to say, with the majority of Americans believing that the government has suppressed information on UAPs, our bipartisan effort highlights our need for transparency from the federal government regarding UAPs to better protect the safety and security of American citizens. So I think that's great. And in this new bill, it specifically enables civilian aircrew, FAA air controllers, and flight attendants, maintenance workers, dispatchers, and airliners to directly report UAP encounters to the FAA. And that is pretty powerful for the FAA to handle that stuff again, because originally they did, and it was taken out of their hands by the federal government. So, we know it's the Federal Aviation Commission right there, but at the same rate, who better to consider these reports? So the FAA would be responsible for compiling the relevant communication information or data on the reports before sharing them with the DoD and Aero. And so the FAA would be required to investigate any threats that may pose a problem to the national airspace system. So of course they apply that pressure, right? If you do that, then you have to do this too. And that means they have to hire more people for this. But anyways, the bill also forbids airlines from issuing cease and desist letters to employees or take any negative action against them. That's important.
Very important. And I like
So,
that.
your thoughts? Yeah.
I like that because they need safety. They need safety. And what I'm hearing behind the scenes is that it's very difficult right now for any whistleblower to come through because of the repercussions. And when you're, say 60 years old, and all of a sudden you're being threatened with time at Leavenworth, or what's the other base there? Another big prison.
I don't know, man.
It's on the island where Cuba is.
Guantanamo?
Yeah, Guantanamo Bay. I mean, that's going to pretty much discourage you from breaking the law. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And I mean that would be more than plenty for me. Just
Indeed.
pay me out and I'll go my own way. No, I'm teasing. But
No, you're not.
no, maybe not. I don't know. But I mean, the time wasted and the energy wasted on this, Tim, it really is getting a little ridiculous on the new ways they can make us look stupid, don't you think?
It's frustrating that they've gone full circle with who should handle this, and they keep dumping it on each other. And it ended up right back where it started with the FAA, except now they have to also be required to investigate any threats that may pose a problem to the national airspace system. That's a new responsibility for them. So they're like, fine, not only are you required to report and collate all the data and figure out what's real and what isn't, but we also want you to make sure that there's no threats involved with this. So, it's why the legislation may or may not get passed, because there's a dollar sign attached to it. And so it's frustrating, but at the same rate, I like that, Grothman is putting this forward. He's a new name out there pushing for UFO protection. I guess we're protecting our pilots and their reporting on the UFO topic. And it sounds like he, ever since he was a child, was into the topic.
Tim, I want to know about when we come to this topic regarding everything that you've just stated. Is there an out for people? Is there an out for people who have experiences and just want to have their own peace of mind? Because it just sounds like, once again, there is no interest in anything else besides what's already out there.
Yeah. I know when I had my first sighting, I wanted to know if it was real, if what I had seen was not ours. And so I reported it to agencies that could determine that. And then I wanted to know if anyone else had seen it, because it was so amazing.
Yes.
It lasted so long. And I was just mind blown that it happened over a populace and no one else potentially had seen it. It took 2 minutes, and I was like, how is nobody else filming this or seeing it? It's right above a city. and
Yes.
no one had reported it. And so that in itself was interesting. But I think the important thing is for people when they have an experience is to investigate it to your own um, level of comfort, right? Because you have to come to terms with it. You know, if it's not something you're already open to, like it smacked me and my family in the face. We didn't expect this. It wasn't something we'd ever talked about before. So for us, it was impactful. For other people, it may be like part of every day. I don't know. But if it does impact you and you feel like you need to get to the bottom of it, investigate it, you know, and look into it, put it out there, be bold with it, because that was what I did. I named it and I kind of put it out there so people could research it. And I made every bit of evidence I had accessible so that anyone could compare notes. I was transparent. And I think that honest people need to do that, is perhaps put it out there publicly, and we should all be comparing notes on the truth, you know, because that's the best way. We're not going to get it in the newspaper.
Yeah. Tim, I want to get your opinion as a budding filmmaker and documentarian about Jeremy Corbell. Controversial subject. All his videos are controversial that he leaks out. Okay. What is your thoughts of somebody like Jeremy? I know you have high respect. You know, you're not a guy who's going to crap on someone, but I just want to get to know your thoughts on somebody who's equal to you in understanding film and documentaries. And yet he is getting roasted over the coals again about this jellyfish like UFO, which to me looks like a balloon. Okay. Or somebody put uh, a thin blanket over top of a drone. I'm curious your thoughts. I mean, I realize he's rogue. I realize that he's independent and he likes that shock value. But is it good for ufology?
Great question. Great question. His films, I think, are really well made. And I mean, I enjoy watching them. The content definitely delivers information really well. I enjoy his style of filmmaking for documentaries. I think it's very tastefully done. Music's great. VO is great. So technically it's stellar work, obviously. And he's gotten to work closely with people that have a lot of information on the topic, whether you agree with the information or not. They have a lot of it, enough for a documentary. And that's what he is, a documentary filmmaker. So he picks his subject because it's semi-controversial and then does it. I think that's great. So I love that. Now, the integrity of doing a podcast and releasing video, that's up for grabs, because I personally think that you need to release things and let the public decide and not worry about the scrutiny that you may fall under, right? You're just a documentarian, right? So yes, it sucks. Right now he's getting kicked around, but he presented something that might be balloons. It might not. It might be a drone. So far, at least half of them are drones. At least one or two are just camera anomalies. A couple of them, I'm not sure what they are. I mean, I've seen things that he hasn't released too, but those are a little more obvious that they're not, you know, strange. It's hard to be consistent with UFO evidence. Let's just say that. And so he does have a direct line from people that are whistleblowers that have seen things that are strange. They're military, so we can guess that they're probably something odd that is probably man-made, is my guess. I mean, obviously not everything, because there is an element of other out there that we've captured, and is capturable with the right technology. But you really have to be, I don't know, not looking for it. I don't know how else to explain it. Right place, right time, or with the right people or right location. I don't know what the explanation is, but so I mean, potentially. So my short answer, the long answer rather, is that we need more Jeremy Corbells. Is my ultimate, like, more people delivering evidence for us all to look at, and do it in a very independent way, where you don't care if you do break a few rules.
And I get that. I mean, sometimes it's better to act and say sorry later, which seems to be a motto of his. And I trust George Knapp, and that's who's really Jeremy's mentor and good friend, George Knapp. And I look at it like this, man. I think Jeremy is reckless, and he likes it that way. I think he likes having these videos with very minimal explanation, so that way he can get his face in front of camera of every news work from Vancouver Island right down to the shores of Florida. I do
And
believe.
that's a
Yeah,
great
go ahead.
point you're bringing up. Not to interrupt, I apologize for interrupting, but you're bringing up a really good point there, that his face has been on national TV and international TV talking about UFOs. And you may not agree with everything, but he is presenting that the US government is watching, and
Oh
that's
yes.
important. So,
Oh yes. No, I'm not saying that. I think most people are wanting to jump on a bandwagon of liking or disliking somebody. I mean, hell, I mean, in today's day and age, I mean, if you diss someone, it's pretty much gonna be could end up the worst day, week, year of your life, right? All because you told some dude to wipe the McDonald's special sauce off his the side of his beard because it was glued in there.
I have
Right,
seen that.
and I didn't mean that to be in a perverse way either,
No.
okay? What I'm saying here, Tim, is I really do believe that Jeremy loves being reckless. He loves being the center of attention. He loves being someone who is, at the forefront of ufology and the cameras and the television stations and the interviews and everything that he's done since. That is huge publicity for his film company. It's huge publicity for everyone involved with him. So why not keep it up?
Yeah, and his podcast delivers the goods weekly. You don't have to like every one of them, but there's information there, you know? And as far as the releases go, I think we should probably continue to expect more, This is not a train that's slowing down, it's speeding up. And so I expect more from that team. And so it's information for us to review and consider. Consider the source, right? It's information, regardless. And it's all about UAP, right, Dave?
Oh, of course. Not UFOs.
Not so
UAP.
much. Yeah, we
You
wish it
know,
was.
I mean, you look at David Grush. Let's change topics here for a second. Are you surprised, Tim, that we're 3 weeks into the new year and still no mention of any other potential whistleblower out there?
Yeah, I am surprised. However, I'm sure that 2024 is going to deliver more whistleblowers. I know it. I know it. But it's not always going to come out in direct support. And it's hard to come out in direct. I mean, there's not a lot of people that know what David Grush knows. There's probably a handful, and that handful has to consider coming out publicly to support him. Right. And it wouldn't be right for him to directly ask them to come forward and support him. That's not probably something that goes on. But what might take place is the sort of thing where they see him out here floundering and decide to give a nugget of support in one way or another. And we may see something like that, some supporting details for him. The fact that they attempted to and succeeded in a gag order for 2 months, he wasn't able to talk at all while they were reconsidering the doxer. Is that what it's called? Or I don't know, whatever the DOD has to confirm what can be said and what can't be said. So he wasn't able to say anything while they reconsidered it. Well, it doesn't have to take 2 months, and it did. So he was literally silenced for 2 months in their own way. And I think it's important to notice that. Why? Because he had just done a massive podcast in front of 1 million people, and they'd all seen a whole nother side of David Grush that made him very likable, right? So they wanted to just squash that. It's all very obvious when you have got hindsight of 2020.
It is, isn't it? It's a beauty. That's what makes us good at our jobs, man.
Yeah. Just follow the trail and just point it in the same direction. They're going to keep on doing the same thing. It's not going to change. So, yeah.
No, definitely not going to change. Even if it does get better, how much more will it actually change to our benefit for once, Tim?
Well, like I said, it's got to come from the public, right? The more of us that band together with our evidence or our stories, get it out there, get your trusted sources out there and communicate together and do more shows like this. Talk on podcasts.
Absolutely. Little Timmy Seymour, I hate to say this, man, but it is that time of the night where we got to prep. I know. I know. As we got about 20 seconds to go here, and the music's
sound so sleepy.
Oh, dude. No, dude. It's what the problem is? I'll tell you this. I suffer from sleep apnea, and I suffer from it's almost like a narcolepsy where I can just fall asleep like that, but I'm hearing everything that's going on. And then I'm trying to communicate right after. Oh, it's the weirdest thing, man. Weirdest thing.
Don't drive and do that, bro.
Oh no, I'm not driving right now. Not driving. No. I gotta and I've been putting in after hours to study for my firearms license. So it's been a busy time. Tim, thank you for coming back.
Good to
we'll talk to you very soon, my man.
Thank you.
All right, we got Mr. Ron Bumblefoot Thal rocking in the background with Little Brother is Watching. Bumblefoot is the official music of Spaced Out Radio, rocking us in and out of every single show. Get your horns up for the guitar god himself. Special thanks to everybody listening in at work, at home, in your cars, wherever you may be. Thank you to everyone in our chat rooms tonight. YouTube, Twitch, LGAP, Facebook, Spreaker, LinkedIn, the Space Travelers Club, and on Twitter, hashtag Spaced Out Radio. I know you're out there somewhere. Remember, this show is copyright. It's Spaced Out Radio and SOR Media Ventures Limited. Thank you so much for choosing to share your evening with us. Because together, my friends, we're watching. We own the night. Mr. Bumblefoot, we need a favor. We need you to take us home. Yes, the Woo Train has docked for the night. But soon, my friends, we shall ride again. Seats are always available. Your tickets never expire. And if you want to bring a friend, we've got room for them too. Good night. Oh. There we go. I'm like starving, and I'm like, no, you're not eating anything after the show. It's like, come on, feed me. No. That not happening. Go there. Go there. Anyways, I'm going to say thank you to Amy, Jennifer, DA, Monica, and Kira for the great super chats. Tomorrow night on the show, Luigi Venditelli is going to be our guest. You may have seen him a few weeks ago, actually a couple months ago now, on with Rob G. And when Nicole was with us talking about Bob Lazar, I wanted a chance to talk with him. So we booked him for tomorrow night. We'll talk to you tomorrow night, everybody. I'm going to go lay down, get some sleep. See you tomorrow.
Stay healthy, my friend.
You too.
If you need bail money, give me a call.
Always, Dad. Take care.
You too.